In the stillness of evening, when the world around you softens and your breath naturally slows, it can be comforting to turn your attention inward toward the quiet landscapes of your own body. Inside you, beneath layers of skin and muscle and bone, there flows a steady, gentle river. This river is your blood, a warm and constant presence that moves in peaceful cycles, carrying with it the subtle chemistry of life. As we begin this first part of our slow and tranquil journey, we will simply settle into an understanding of blood, not as something dramatic or urgent, but as a calm companion, always working in the background, always supporting you with unspoken grace. Imagine, for a moment, a soft current moving through a wide and branching network of pathways. There is no rush in this river, no turbulence. It simply glides along, responding to the steady rhythm of your heart, a rhythm so familiar that most of the time you barely notice it at all. Yet this pulse guides every drop of blood as it flows through you, a gentle push followed by a quiet release. In this continuous motion, your body finds nourishment, balance, and harmony. Blood does not move with noise. It does not announce itself. Instead, it is like a whisper of movement, a subtle stirring that never stops, even during your deepest sleep. As this quiet river travels, it carries with it countless microscopic travelers, tiny molecules, ions, and cells, each one drifting peacefully within the fluid. Some of these passengers bring oxygen gathered from the air you breathe. Others transport nutrients absorbed from meals you may no longer remember, nutrients broken down and reassembled into forms that your cells can easily accept. Still others hold messages, small chemical instructions that help the body maintain calm, respond to subtle changes, or settle back into equilibrium after the smallest ripple of activity. These components move not in chaos. When we think of blood in our waking hours, we might imagine something dramatic, the sharp red of an injury or the quick rush of a fast heartbeat. But here, in this quiet space, meant for drifting toward rest, we take a different perspective. We imagine instead the serene inner world that blood creates, a world in which every chemical interaction is smooth, every adjustment subtle, and every movement purposeful without feeling hurried. Your bloodstream becomes not a dramatic setting, but a soft environment where everything knows its place and understands its role. Each task is performed with patience, not urgency. This calm interpretation aligns beautifully with how the body truly functions. Blood is not a chaotic torrent. It is a controlled and well-regulated medium. Its flow is guided by gentle gradients and pressures that shift almost imperceptibly. Its chemistry is maintained through quiet orchestrations, involving hormones, electrolytes, and dissolved gases that rise and fall within narrow, comfortable ranges. Even when the world around you changes, when temperatures drop or rise, when you rest or move, your blood adapts smoothly, making adjustments so small that you rarely feel them. This is the essence of homeostasis, the body's ability to maintain inner steadiness despite outer fluctuations. And blood is one of the central participants in that steadying process. As you imagine this internal river, it can be helpful to picture the pathways the blood travels. These pathways are not rigid or mechanical. They are soft, flexible vessels, arteries that carry freshly oxygenated blood outward, veins that bring blood home again, and capillaries so fine that a single red blood cell passes through in a gentle file, one after another. These vessels weave through every region of your body, touching every organ and tissue, ensuring that each cell receives what it needs and releases what it no longer requires. Nothing is rushed. Even the smallest vessels allow the exchange of gases and nutrients with a softness that mirrors the peaceful rhythm of night. Within this river, the temperature is warm and comforting. The plasma, the fluid component of blood, creates a medium in which everything is suspended weightlessly, drifting as though in a calm underwater environment. In this fluid, molecules encounter each other in smooth and predictable ways, binding and releasing through the subtle attractions of chemistry. Proteins float like gentle stabilizers, helping to maintain balance and structure. Minerals dissolve as ions, creating quiet electrical gradients that support nerve activity and muscle relaxation. Even the gases move with ease, carried not as bubbles, but as dissolved components that glide through the bloodstream without a sound. In this first part of our exploration, it is enough simply to feel the presence of this internal river. We are not yet concerned with the details of its chemistry or the specific roles of its many components. Instead, we are letting ourselves ease into the idea that blood is both simple and intricate, steady and dynamic, familiar and yet deserving of quiet appreciation. It is one of the body's great harmonizers, and through its constant movement, it sustains every tissue, every organ, every moment of your life, awake or asleep. The chemistry of blood is an ongoing conversation between countless molecules. But there is never a sense of conflict in this conversation. Everything occurs in balanced cycles, like an intricate but peaceful dance. Gases are exchanged in soft motions. Nutrients are delivered with gentle consistency. Waste products are carried away without fanfare. Hormones glide through the plasma to remind organs of their roles, encouraging the body to settle, digest, rest, or restore. Even the immune cells that float through your bloodstream do so with quiet intention, moving patiently, responding only when they are needed, and otherwise allowing the body to remain in peaceful equilibrium. As your awareness drifts gently through this imagined inner landscape, you may notice how natural it feels to picture the blood as something calm. After all, the body itself strives for calm above all else. Its chemistry is based on harmony, its regulation on balance, and its rhythms on consistency. Through this lens, the bloodstream becomes a place of tranquility, not tension, a nourishing flow that keeps you grounded and supported, whether you are active, still, or resting into sleep. In the soft glow of this understanding, we can appreciate blood as an ever-present companion, one that does not demand attention, but quietly sustains you. It moves through you with patience, carrying the chemistry that keeps you whole. In the next part of our lecture, we will begin exploring what blood truly is in scientific terms, yet always through this gentle, sleep-friendly lens. For now, simply rest in the awareness that inside you flows a river of life, steady, balanced, and serene, guiding your body through the night with quiet wisdom. 2. What makes blood a living tissue? When we begin to consider what blood truly is, it helps to soften our thoughts and imagine it not as a simple liquid, but as something more intricate and delicately organized. Blood, in its quiet constancy, is far more than a fluid that moves through vessels. It is considered a connective tissue, and that classification reflects the subtle ways its components work together to support the body's deeper structure and balance. Even though it flows and drifts through the cardiovascular system, it shares with other tissues the fundamental qualities of living organization. And as we settle into this part of our gentle lecture, we can take our time understanding these qualities, letting each idea unfold slowly, like ripples spreading across a still pond. To understand why blood is a living tissue, we first think of what a tissue truly is. A tissue is a group of cells working together with a shared purpose, and blood fits this description beautifully. Suspended within the liquid portion of blood are countless cells, each alive, each active, each contributing to the body's quiet maintenance. These cells are not scattered randomly. Instead, they drift through the plasma with a kind of quiet cooperation, forming a mobile community that serves every corner of the body. Red blood cells carry gases, white blood cells support immune balance, and platelets help maintain the integrity of vessels. These components, though diverse in their design and function, move through the bloodstream in a unified, harmonious flow. This is what makes blood not just a fluid, but a living tissue with structure and purpose. The idea of blood as a connective tissue might seem unusual at first, because most connective tissues like bone, cartilage, or tendons are solid or semi-solid. But the definition of connective tissue does not depend on firmness or rigidity. It depends instead on the presence of specialized cells scattered within an extracellular matrix. In the case of blood, that matrix is fluid rather than solid, taking the form of plasma. This liquid matrix allows the cells within it to move freely, creating a tissue that is dynamic rather than fixed, flowing rather than stationary. Even though blood does not physically bind structures together the way tendons might, it supports connection in a deeper sense by linking every part of the body through chemical transport. In this way, it creates a form of connection that is subtle, internal. The plasma that makes up the bulk of this living tissue is a quiet, golden medium. Mostly water, it creates a gentle environment in which cells can float, drift, and interact. Within this fluid matrix are proteins, electrolytes, hormones, nutrients, and countless dissolved molecules. Plasma is not simply a passive transport medium. It is an active participant in maintaining homeostasis. Its proteins help regulate fluid balance and pH. Its electrolytes support nerve impulses and muscle relaxation. Its ability to carry hormones allows distant organs to communicate softly with one another. In this way, the plasma becomes more than a backdrop. It becomes a gentle conductor guiding the chemistry of the bloodstream. Suspended within this liquid matrix are the cells that give blood its identity as a tissue. Red blood cells are perhaps the most numerous and visually defining of these cellular components, shaped like soft discs with gentle depressions on each side. Without a nucleus, they dedicate their entire structure to carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide, offering a continuous exchange that sustains every cell of the body. Their movement through the bloodstream is not chaotic. It is smooth and synchronized, like a school of fish drifting through calm waters. Each red blood cell participates in a constant cycle of loading and unloading gases, adapting moment by moment to the needs of the surrounding tissues. White blood cells, though fewer in number, bring another dimension to this living tissue. These cells serve as the body's quiet guardians, moving with patience through the bloodstream and occasionally slipping into tissues when needed. Unlike red blood cells, they maintain their nuclei, allowing them to carry out complex functions. But even in their complexity, there is a softness to their presence, a kind of gentle vigilance that keeps the internal environment balanced without creating a sense of alarm. They drift along until they sense a signal that calls them into action, and even then, their movements are deliberate rather than frantic. Their role in the body's equilibrium makes them essential partners in the chemistry of blood. Then there are the platelets, small and subtle fragments that contribute to the healing process. Even though they are not full cells, they are vital participants in the tissue-like nature of blood. They help maintain the integrity of vessel walls, responding with quiet precision when small tears or openings appear. Platelets do not rush. They gather gently, forming soft layers that help reestablish smoothness. Their activity is part of a carefully controlled chemical cascade that allows the body to repair itself without disrupting the peaceful flow of circulation. Together, these cellular components and the plasma that carries them create a tissue that is as dynamic as it is gentle. Each element contributes to the overall harmony of blood's chemistry, ensuring that your internal environment remains stable and responsive. The cells act almost like travelers within a shared landscape, each fulfilling its own quiet purpose while also contributing to the overall balance of the whole. The plasma acts like the landscape itself, gently supporting and guiding the motion of everything suspended within it. Because blood is a living tissue, it interacts with every system of the body. It communicates with the nervous system, responding to changes in temperature, stress, and activity. It works with the endocrine system to distribute hormones that help regulate metabolism, growth, and homeostasis. It interacts with the digestive system by carrying nutrients away from the intestines and delivering them to tissues in need. It collaborates with the respiratory system by exchanging gases in the lungs and delivering them to cells throughout the body. Even the musculoskeletal system depends on blood to deliver calcium, oxygen, and energy, allowing muscles to move smoothly and bones to maintain strength. These interactions are not abrupt or forceful. They are gentle dialogues conducted through chemistry and flow. This interconnectedness highlights another essential quality of blood: its adaptability. Because it is a living tissue, its composition can shift in small and graceful ways to meet the body's momentary needs. If the body warms, blood redirects toward the skin to release heat. If it cools, blood flows inward to preserve warmth. If glucose levels dip, hormones carried in the plasma help restore balance. If cells require more oxygen during exertion, red blood cells increase their delivery. These adjustments occur continuously, yet so subtly that we often remain unaware of them. The body does not create sudden or jarring shifts. Instead, it relies on the gentle chemistry of blood to maintain internal equilibrium. As you take in these ideas, imagine blood not as something mechanical, but as a soft, living presence within you. It is a tissue that moves, responds, adapts, and communicates. Its components work together with a kind of quiet intelligence, never resting, never rushing, always adjusting to provide the body with exactly what it needs. In this way, blood becomes a symbol of the body's capacity for balance, a flowing testament to the peaceful processes that sustain life. By seeing blood as a living tissue, we appreciate its deeper role in connecting and nourishing the body. It is not merely a transport system, but a dynamic and cooperative community of cells suspended within a fluid matrix. This gentle understanding prepares us for the next part of our exploration, where we will drift more deeply into the nature of plasma, the golden foundation of this flowing tissue, and discover the chemistry that allows it to support the body with quiet constancy. 3. Plasma, the gentle golden medium. When we imagine the bloodstream as a flowing river within the body, it is often the cells that first come to mind: the red blood cells carrying their quiet cargo of oxygen, the white blood cells moving with silent vigilance, and the platelets drifting patiently until they are needed. Yet beneath and around all these travelers lies the vast and softly shimmering fluid known as plasma. This fluid, warm and golden in color, is not simply a backdrop for the cellular elements of blood. It is the foundational medium that allows every component to drift, interact, and communicate within the body with ease. In this part of our peaceful journey through the chemistry of blood, we immerse ourselves in the nature of plasma, observing its gentle characteristics and appreciating the balanced environment it creates. Plasma makes up more than half of the total volume of blood, and this abundance alone hints at its significance. It is composed primarily of water, around 90%, and this water forms a soothing, weightless environment in which thousands of different molecules and cells can float. Water's unique properties allow it to dissolve, cushion, transport, and stabilize countless substances. The water in plasma holds everything in a delicate suspension, much like a calm tide that carries small particles without disturbing the tranquility of its surface. This fluidity allows molecules to move freely and reach distant tissues without friction or resistance. It may seem simple, but this watery foundation is a masterpiece of biological design, one that supports nearly every chemical process essential to life. Within this watery environment are dissolved proteins, whose presence shapes the plasma's character. These proteins are not merely floating in the bloodstream. They are actively guiding the chemistry of the body with subtle influence. Albumin, the most abundant of these proteins, maintains the delicate balance of fluid between the blood vessels and surrounding tissues. It does this quietly, helping to ensure that the right amount of water remains in circulation, while also carrying hormones, fatty acids, and other molecules that need a stable escort through the bloodstream. Albumin's gentle pull on water molecules helps keep the circulation smooth, preventing either excess swelling or excessive dryness in tissues. Its presence is a steadying hand, an unseen guardian of balance and composure. Another group of proteins drifting through the plasma are the globulins. These proteins perform a wide range of functions, including transporting metal ions, supporting immune processes, and serving as carriers for lipids that might otherwise settle unpredictably in the bloodstream. Their forms are varied and their tasks diverse, yet they all circulate with the same quiet persistence. Within this category are the immunoglobulins, antibodies, that help the body identify what belongs and what does not. Even these guardians function in calm cooperation, acting only when necessary and spending most of their time simply floating peacefully through the plasma. Then there are the clotting proteins, such as fibrinogen. They exist in the bloodstream in a dormant state, drifting without interruption, waiting for the rare moment when they may be called upon to help seal a small vessel opening. Their resting state is important. The bloodstream remains smooth and clear because these proteins remain inactive until the chemistry of clotting gently awakens them. When activated, they begin to transform, weaving strands that help stabilize small wounds and preserve the continuity of the river's flow. Even this process, though it may sound dramatic, unfolds with precision rather than haste, ensuring the healing process does not disturb the body's overall tranquility. Alongside proteins, plasma carries a collection of electrolytes ions such as sodium, potassium, calcium, chloride, and bicarbonate. These charged particles drift throughout the plasma, forming gradients that support everything from muscle relaxation to nerve conduction. Their presence is delicate and precise. Too little or too much of any one ion would disrupt the body's internal harmony. Therefore, their concentrations are maintained within narrow, comforting ranges. Sodium gently regulates water movement. Potassium influences the calm electrical rhythm of the heart, and calcium supports smooth muscle contractions and the release of neurotransmitters. They share the plasma space like soft notes in an ambient melody, each contributing to the body's quiet equilibrium without overwhelming the others. Dissolved within this fluid medium are also the nutrients that your body absorbs from food. Glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals all travel through the plasma on their way to the cells that need them. The movement of these nutrients is peaceful and continuous. They drift from one region to another depending on the body's needs, carried effortlessly by plasma's flowing currents. Even the lipids, which do not dissolve easily in water, are gently guided by lipoproteins, specialized carriers that escort them through the bloodstream with grace and stability. Another type of passenger found within plasma is the hormone. These signaling molecules are produced by endocrine glands and released into the bloodstream with quiet purpose. Hormones do not shout their instructions. They drift through the plasma until they reach target cells that recognize their presence. Once they arrive, they influence processes such as metabolism, growth, hydration, and stress regulation. The hormones carried in plasma help guide the body through subtle internal transitions, ensuring that each system remains synchronized with the others. Their presence in the bloodstream is a reminder that much of the body's communication happens through soft chemical conversations carried gently along by the plasma. Plasma also plays a role in transporting the waste products created by cellular activity. These byproducts, such as carbon dioxide, urea, and lactic acid, are collected and carried away with the same quiet efficiency that plasma provides for nutrients and hormones. The bloodstream escorts these substances to the lungs, kidneys, and liver, where they can be processed or released. There is no disruption in this process, no sense of clutter or congestion. Plasma continues to flow smoothly, carrying both the useful and the spent materials with equal grace, maintaining the body's internal clarity. One of plasma's most subtle and essential qualities is its ability to help maintain the pH of the blood. The body relies on a narrow pH range to keep its chemistry stable, and plasma is one of the main guardians of this balance. Through bicarbonate ions and dissolved carbon dioxide, Plasma participates in a quiet buffering system that gently resists sudden shifts in acidity or alkalinity. This buffering capacity ensures that even the most sensitive enzymes and cellular processes remain comfortable and undisturbed. The pH balance maintained by plasma is not a static point, it is a dynamic stability, always ready to adjust in the smallest increments to ensure the body stays within its peaceful chemical zone. In many ways, plasma can be thought of as the atmosphere within which the cells of the bloodstream live. It provides their environment, their medium for movement, their source of nutrients, and their means of communication. The cells depend on plasma not only for transport but for support, nourishment, and protection. Plasma cools the body gently when needed, warms it when temperatures drop, and helps maintain the volume and pressure of the blood so that the river continues its steady course through every tissue. Its golden hue, often barely visible outside the laboratory setting, reflects the warmth and vitality of its composition. As we allow ourselves to sit with the idea of plasma as this gentle golden medium, we begin to appreciate the depth of its role in the chemistry of blood. It is the foundation on which the entire system rests, the quiet reservoir of dissolved substances that travel through us in continuous cycles. Everything within the bloodstream depends on plasma's capacity to carry, cushion, dissolve, and stabilize. Without it, the cells would have no home, the nutrients would have no path, and the chemistry of life would lose its delicate orchestration. In this peaceful understanding, plasma becomes more than a fluid. It becomes a serene extension of the body's natural desire for balance. It is a reminder that even the most complex processes can unfold through gentle, fluid motions. As our journey continues, we will begin to focus more closely on the remarkable components that float within this golden river, beginning with the red blood cells that lend the bloodstream its color and its quiet power to carry life-giving oxygen. 4. Exploring the formed elements. When we turn our attention from the gentle golden medium of plasma to the suspended inhabitants who drift within it, we enter a quieter, deeper layer of the bloodstream's inner world. These inhabitants, known collectively as the formed elements, are the cells and cell fragments that give blood much of its character, purpose, and quiet intelligence. They do not float within the bloodstream as chaotic or isolated entities. Instead, they share the current like companions on a peaceful journey. In this part of our calm exploration, we take our time noticing the presence of these formed elements, feeling their significance in the slow, steady flow of the blood. The term formed elements may sound technical, but it simply describes the tangible components of blood that are not dissolved in plasma. These include red blood cells, which carry oxygen with patient reliability, white blood cells, which provide gentle protection and quiet vigilance, and platelets, which support healing with delicate precision. Together, these distinct elements float through the bloodstream in a kind of serene partnership. Although they differ in their structure and purpose, they share the same environment and move along the same currents, responding to the body's needs with unhurried intelligence. If we imagine the plasma as a wide and tranquil river, the formed elements appear like drifting travelers, each one shaped by the demands of its role. The red blood cells are the most numerous, forming a soft tide of cellular boats that glide through even the narrowest capillaries. Their movement is so smooth and uniform that the bloodstream often seems composed entirely of them when viewed under a microscope. Yet, scattered among them are the occasional white blood cells, larger and rarer, drifting like quiet sentinels. And then there are the platelets, tiny, delicate fragments that look almost like shimmering flakes of light circulating patiently until they are needed. Red blood cells, or erythrocytes, make up the majority of these formed elements. Their abundance is one of the defining features of blood, giving it its color and its ability to transport oxygen. Each of these cells has a unique biconcave shape, a soft, flattened disc with a gentle indentation on each side that increases its surface area and allows it to deform easily as it passes through narrow passages. Their flexibility is extraordinary. They can fold themselves to fit through capillaries far smaller than their resting diameter, slipping through with the ease of silk gliding through a narrow ring. Their structure is simple yet purposeful, designed entirely for the quiet task of carrying gases. Without a nucleus or internal organelles, these cells devote their entire space to hemoglobin, the protein that binds oxygen. Their simplicity is not a limitation but a form of elegant refinement, a way of ensuring that every part of the cell contributes to its role. But red blood cells are not the only travelers within this flowing tissue. They do not drift with the same steady rhythm as the red blood cells. Instead, they move with intention, responding to subtle chemical signals within the plasma. While most of the time they simply float peacefully, they remain aware of the body's needs, ready to guide their movements whenever balance is disrupted. Their presence is never meant to evoke alarm. Rather, they serve as quiet guardians, always watching, always prepared to restore harmony when called upon. Their slow and purposeful drift through the circulation helps maintain a sense of quiet equilibrium within the body, a protective presence woven gently into the bloodstream. White blood cells come in several varieties, each with its own subtle characteristics. Some specialize in identifying unfamiliar substances. Others help coordinate communication among different parts of the immune system. Their shapes vary as well, some smooth, some segmented, some filled with delicate granules. Yet despite these differences, they share an essential quality. They move with patience rather than haste. They remain suspended in plasma, drifting along until a chemical whisper guides them toward a specific location. Their movements are deliberate, not constant, and they intervene only when needed, allowing the bloodstream to remain peaceful most of the time. In this sense, they embody a form of quiet readiness rather than activity. Drifting among these cells are the platelets, known scientifically as thrombocytes. These are not complete cells but fragments derived from much larger bone marrow cells. Platelets are tiny, so small that hundreds could fit into a space occupied by a single white blood cell, but their presence is essential for maintaining vessel integrity. When the bloodstream is undisturbed, platelets simply float, resting quietly in the current. Their surfaces are smooth, their forms unassuming, but they are exquisitely sensitive to subtle changes in their surroundings. And if they encounter a roughened or disrupted area of vessel lining, they respond with gentle precision. They begin to adhere to the site, releasing factors that encourage nearby platelets to join them, forming a soft, temporary patch that helps preserve the smoothness of the vessel wall. This process is one of the quiet miracles of the bloodstream, a repair mechanism that activates only when needed, and only to the degree necessary, allowing the body to maintain harmony with remarkable subtlety. One of the most beautiful qualities of the formed elements is the way they coexist within the bloodstream. Despite their distinct shapes, functions, and lifespans, they move together as part of a shared environment. The plasma that surrounds them acts as a supportive medium, cushioning them, guiding them, and dissolving the molecules that allow them to communicate. In this flowing landscape, no formed element acts alone. Red blood cells rely on the plasma to deliver them to tissues. White blood cells respond to messages carried through dissolved chemicals. Platelets depend on plasma proteins to help coordinate their role in clotting. Each element contributes to the balance of the whole, and none disrupts the silent flow that moves them forward. Even the lifespans of these formed elements unfold with gentle rhythm. Red blood cells circulate for about 4 months, drifting through the bloodstream day after day until they are quietly removed by the spleen. New red blood cells are produced in the bone marrow to replace them, entering the bloodstream with soft regularity. White blood cells may live for hours or years, depending on their type, but even their eventual departure from the bloodstream is part of a naturally timed cycle. Platelets circulate for around a week, always ready to contribute when the need arises. Each component follows a natural timeline, entering and leaving the bloodstream in patterns that maintain the river's steady composition. As we observe these formed elements with quiet curiosity, we begin to understand the bloodstream not simply as a transport system, but as a collaborative community moving within a fluid landscape. Every element is shaped for its purpose, every movement aligned with the body's deeper rhythms. Blood is not merely a vehicle for carrying substances. It is a living tissue composed of countless participants, each one moving with intention and supported by the gentle current of plasma. The chemistry of the bloodstream arises from the harmony among these formed elements, a harmony that allows the body to function with fluid stability and quiet resilience. This understanding sets the stage for the next chapter of our exploration, where we will shift our attention more closely to the red blood cells themselves, the silent carriers whose continuous movement provides the body with its most essential breath of life. 5. Red blood cells, the silent carriers. When we shift our attention toward the red blood cells drifting through the bloodstream, we begin to notice one of the most graceful and essential elements within this inner river of life. These cells, so numerous and so quietly dedicated to their purpose, form the soft crimson tide that gives blood its familiar color and its quiet capacity to carry oxygen. Their presence is constant, their movements rhythmic, and their structure exquisitely shaped for the unhurried task they perform thousands of times each minute. As we settle into part 5, we let ourselves drift gently alongside these silent carriers, observing their elegance and the calm chemistry that defines their existence. A red blood cell is small enough that millions can fit within a single drop of blood, yet its influence on the body is profound. Each cell is shaped like a biconcave disc, a form both simple and remarkably efficient. This shape increases the cell's surface area, allowing for effortless exchange of gases, and it grants flexibility, enabling the cell to fold and bend as it navigates through narrow capillaries that are sometimes only slightly wider than a single strand of hair. This gentle deformability is one of the red blood cell's most beautiful characteristics. It does not force its way through tight passages. It softens itself, gliding through with quiet ease, shaped by the needs of the moment. What makes the red blood cell especially remarkable is what it lacks. Unlike most cells in the body, these structures are absent not because the cell is incomplete, but because it has been refined by evolution to focus solely on its purpose, transporting oxygen from the lungs to the tissues, and carrying carbon dioxide from the tissues back to the lungs. Every part of the red blood cell is devoted to this task. By removing the nucleus and other internal components, the cell creates space for a large quantity of hemoglobin, the protein that binds gases. In this simplicity, there is a kind of purity. The cell exists only to serve the flow of life, offering itself fully and quietly to the body's needs. Inside each red blood cell are around 250 million molecules of hemoglobin. This protein, folded into its soft globular shape, contains iron atoms that give the blood its red hue. The iron within hemoglobin binds oxygen in a reversible, gentle embrace. The hemoglobin molecules adjust their shape slightly as they bind the oxygen, entering a state known as full saturation. Then, carried by the current of the bloodstream, they drift toward the tissues, where oxygen levels are lower. In this environment, the bond between hemoglobin and oxygen loosens, and the oxygen is released into the surrounding cells. This exchange unfolds with seamless efficiency, guided not by conscious force but by the quiet laws of chemistry. The movement of red blood cells through the body is continuous and unbroken. Every moment of the day and night, they circulate through the vast network of vessels, completing one full rotation in less than a minute. They return to the lungs to refresh their oxygen load, then drift outward again to every organ and tissue. Their journey is predictable, steady, and patient. Even in sleep, they do not rest. They simply continue their soft and essential passage, supporting the body in silence while the mind drifts deeper into stillness. What makes this process even more calming to consider is the way red blood cells respond to the body's changing needs without any sense of urgency or alarm. During gentle movements, their oxygen delivery remains steady, During deeper breathing or moments of relaxation, they glide with the same serenity. Even during physical exertion, when demands increase, the red blood cells adapt smoothly, releasing oxygen more readily but never rushing or straining. Their behavior is guided by chemical gradients, differences in oxygen and carbon dioxide levels that direct the hemoglobin toward release or binding. These gradients shift naturally with the body's state, and the red blood cells respond with fluid precision, adjusting their activity through invisible signals carried in the plasma. Red blood cells do not only carry oxygen, they also help guide the removal of carbon dioxide, a product of cellular activity. Some carbon dioxide binds to hemoglobin in a different site than oxygen, while the majority dissolves into the plasma, eventually converting into bicarbonate ions. This peaceful balancing act contributes to the body's pH stability, preventing sudden changes and allowing the internal environment to remain steady. In this interplay of gases, hemoglobin becomes more than a transport protein. It becomes a subtle regulator, helping maintain harmony across systems. The lifespan of a red blood cell is another example of the body's quiet rhythm. From the moment it enters the bloodstream after leaving the bone marrow, the cell will circulate for around 120 days. During this time, it endures constant movement, bending and flexing as it passes through vessels, delivering oxygen over and over again. As it ages, its membrane becomes less flexible, and eventually, the cell drifts into the spleen, a gentle filter that recognizes older cells and removes them with quiet precision. There is no violence in this process, no abrupt end. Instead, the cell is gradually broken down, and its components are recycled. The iron from its hemoglobin is saved and used again, forming new molecules for new cells. The cycle is soft and continuous, a natural rotation in which nothing is wasted and everything has purpose. The production of new red blood cells follows its own serene rhythm, regulated by the hormone erythropoietin. When oxygen levels in the body dip slightly, the kidneys release this hormone, signaling the bone marrow to produce more red blood cells. This process unfolds gradually, ensuring that the body's oxygen carrying capacity remains stable. When oxygen levels rise again, erythropoietin release decreases, and the production of new cells returns to normal. This elegant feedback loop reflects the body's commitment to maintaining balance, always adjusting with the smallest possible motions, never creating unnecessary shifts. Another quiet marvel of the red blood cell lies in its ability to form smooth layers within flowing blood. In wider vessels, red blood cells often drift toward the center of the bloodstream, allowing plasma to flow more freely along the vessel walls. This natural organization reduces friction and helps maintain a steady flow. Even the arrangement of these cells demonstrates the body's preference for smoothness, efficiency, and calm movement. To imagine the presence of red blood cells within your body is to imagine a soft and unbroken tide. They drift through arteries, veins, and capillaries with composure, carrying with them the breath of life. Their movements are predictable and continuous, shaped by natural gradients and gentle currents. Each one is a small vessel of oxygen, offering support and sustenance to every part of the body, whether you are active or resting, awake or asleep. As we close this part of our journey, we understand the red blood cells not as simple components, but as dedicated companions moving silently within us. Their chemistry is subtle, their form elegant, and their purpose unwavering. And as we continue forward, we will explore the remarkable molecule that gives them their power, hemoglobin, the breathing molecule that lies at the heart of this gentle, internal tide. 6 white blood cells in their quiet watchfulness, within the gentle river of the bloodstream, among the countless red blood cells drifting with rhythmic purpose, there exists a much smaller population whose presence is subtle yet profoundly important. These are the white blood cells, known scientifically as leukocytes. Unlike the red cells that create a continuous crimson tide, white blood cells appear only occasionally in the flow, passing by like solitary travelers, each one carrying its own quiet vigilance. They do not rush, they do not overwhelm, and they do not disturb the tranquility of the blood. Instead, they drift with a serene awareness, ready to respond to the smallest shifts in the body's internal environment. As we enter this part of our peaceful exploration, we take the time to observe these gentle guardians and the calm chemistry that guides their existence. White blood cells are diverse in their forms, yet they share a single purpose: preserving balance. They participate in the body's protective processes, though even the word protection need not conjure images of conflict or struggle. Here, in the soft context of sleep-friendly biochemistry, we imagine them as sentinels who maintain harmony. They drift within the plasma until a quiet signal calls them to act. Their presence is not constant in any single location, but their awareness extends throughout the body because the bloodstream carries them everywhere they might be needed. They do not patrol with urgency. Instead, they observe with patience, responding only when conditions require their attention. These leukocytes differ from red blood cells not only in their function but also in their structure. They retain their nuclei, which allows them to carry out more complex tasks. Their shapes are varied, some smooth and spherical, others with lobed or segmented nuclei, still others containing fine granules within their cytoplasm. Yet despite their structural differences, they all float in the bloodstream with the same gentle ease. They are soft-bodied, flexible, and capable of adjusting their shape as they drift through wider vessels or squeeze through delicate capillaries. Their movements are not hurried. They slide along the vascular pathways with calm intention, maintaining their quiet readiness. The beauty of white blood cells lies partly in their ability to sense and interpret chemical signals within the bloodstream. As they drift, they take in subtle information from the dissolved molecules surrounding them. These molecules act like soft whispers, telling the leukocytes where balance is maintained and where more attention might be needed. Instead, it is a gradual recognition, allowing the white blood cells to adjust their direction with grace. Following gentle gradients of chemical cues, they move toward areas where they are most needed, responding with care rather than haste. One of the most peaceful aspects of leukocyte behavior is the way they interact with the lining of blood vessels. When their quiet chemistry senses that they may need to leave the bloodstream, they approach the vessel wall slowly, rolling along its surface as though testing its texture. This rolling is soft and deliberate. Only when they are certain of the signal do they gently slip through the thin spaces between endothelial cells, entering the tissues beyond. Their transitions are subtle and respectful of the body's structures, causing no disruption or distress. Even when they leave the bloodstream, they do so with the same mindfulness that defines their presence within it. There are several types of white blood cells, and each contributes its own calming influence to the body's internal balance. Some, such as lymphocytes, are associated with long-term harmony. They help the body remember past experiences and adjust its responses in the future, all carried out with quiet biochemical coordination. Others, like neutrophils, respond to small disruptions with subtle precision, helping to restore equilibrium where it has shifted. Monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils all play roles as well, each drifting along until the moment when their particular form of guidance becomes useful. But despite their differences, none of these cells behave like forceful soldiers. Instead, they are more akin to gentle caretakers, preserving the peaceful environment of the body with restrained and thoughtful actions. Even the lifespan of white blood cells reflects the body's gentle prioritization of balance. Some live only hours or days, responding to needs as they arise before completing their purpose. Others persist for months or years, providing long-term support and quiet readiness. Their numbers shift gradually in response to the body's state, increasing slightly when more presence is needed, and returning to their usual levels once harmony is restored. These fluctuations are guided by hormones and chemical messengers that drift through the plasma, ensuring that no change is abrupt or disruptive. The entire system is designed to maintain equilibrium through soft adjustments rather than sharp corrections. As we continue to observe the white blood cells within this internal river, we begin to appreciate their gentle companionship with the rest of the formed elements. They are fewer in number, but their contributions are essential. Red blood cells carry oxygen in an unbroken cycle. Platelets support healing with delicate coordination, and plasma creates the golden medium in which everything flows. White blood cells, though rare, offer a layer of quiet watchfulness that supports the entire system. Their presence is felt not through force, but through their subtle protection of the environment in which all the other components rely. Another layer of their quiet influence comes from the way they help regulate inflammation. The word inflammation often suggests warmth, swelling, or discomfort, but at its core, it is simply a process the body uses to restore stability. White blood cells participate in this process with careful precision, helping to clear away what is unnecessary and encouraging the return of balance once calm has been reestablished. They do not seek conflict, they seek resolution. Their role is restorative rather than confrontational, and this perspective allows us to view them with an even deeper sense of appreciation. The chemistry that guides these cells is equally peaceful. Signals drift through the bloodstream in the form of cytokines and other messenger molecules, gently guiding the white blood cells toward places where their presence is helpful. These signals do not force the leukocytes to act. They invite them, like soft murmurs carried on the plasma's gentle currents. The white blood cells respond as part of the body's harmonious whole, cooperating with every other system to maintain comfort and stability. When we visualize these cells in their river-like environment, we notice how naturally they fit into the bloodstream's tranquil landscape. They do not disrupt the movement of red blood cells. They do not interfere with the softness of plasma flow. They simply drift, observe, and respond when needed. Their actions are deliberate yet gentle, creating a sense of inner peace that mirrors the calm state of mind we seek in restful moments. As we close this part of our exploration, we hold a new understanding of white blood cells as quiet protectors, soft, patient, and attentive. They do not dominate the bloodstream. They blend into it, becoming part of the soft currents that sustain life. Their watchfulness ensures that the inner environment remains serene and balanced, allowing the body to rest, rejuvenate, and continue its gentle rhythms. In the next part of our journey, we will drift toward the delicate fragments known as platelets, whose chemistry supports healing in the same quiet and graceful way. 7. The chemistry of healing, platelets, and their gentle precision. Within the quiet flow of the bloodstream, among the softly drifting red and white blood cells, there exists a population so small and delicate that they may seem almost like fragments of light rather than components of living tissue. These are the platelets, tiny, graceful pieces of cellular material that float through the plasma with a kind of understated presence. They are not whole cells, yet they carry out a vital role in the body's ongoing maintenance. In the peaceful current of blood, they act as caretakers of vessel integrity, appearing almost passive until the moment when their subtle chemistry is needed. As we begin this gentle 7th part of our journey, we bring our awareness to these quiet agents of healing, drifting patiently through the inner river. Platelets, known scientifically as thrombocytes, originate in the bone marrow from large cells called megakaryocytes. These megakaryocytes extend long, branch-like projections into nearby blood vessels, and from these branches, tiny fragments pinch off and enter the circulation. Each fragment becomes a platelet, a small disc-shaped structure with a lifespan of about a week. Though they contain no nucleus, platelets are remarkably well equipped, filled with granules that hold various proteins and signaling molecules. They float through the bloodstream in a resting state, their surfaces smooth and inactive, their movements gentle and unassuming. They may drift for days without encountering anything that requires their attention, simply moving wherever the flow of plasma carries them. Their quiet demeanor might make them easy to overlook, but their presence is essential. Platelets contribute to one of the body's most elegant processes, the formation of small, temporary seals that preserve the smooth continuity of blood vessels. Every vessel in the body, from the largest arteries to the tiniest capillaries, depends on its lining remaining intact. Even the slightest disruption, such as a microscopic tear or gentle scrape, could allow blood to escape its intended path. But the body, with its natural wisdom, does not allow these interruptions to remain unaddressed. Instead, it calls upon the platelets, using chemical signals carried in the plasma, to guide them to the place where attention is needed. When a vessel's surface becomes irregular, the platelets passing by do not react abruptly. There is no sudden rush or alarm. Instead, their surfaces begin to sense the change, detecting subtle cues from exposed collagen or other features beneath the vessel lining. This recognition is calm and steady. The platelets begin to slow their drift, gently approaching the site as though drawn by a soft pull. Once they touch the disrupted area, they adhere lightly, forming a delicate first layer of coverage. Their shape shifts from smooth discs to small, star-like forms, extending fine projections that allow them to anchor more securely. This transformation marks the quiet beginning of healing, a natural, graceful response that unfolds without disrupting the soft flow around it. As these first platelets settle, they release molecules from their internal granules. These molecules act like whispered invitations, calling other platelets to join them. The nearby platelets, drifting in the current, sense these signals and move toward the site in calm cooperation. Gradually, a small cluster forms, creating a gentle patch that covers the irregularity. This aggregation is not a rigid structure. It is soft, flexible, and perfectly matched to the dimensions of the vessel. The patch serves not as a barrier but as a temporary bridge, allowing the vessel to maintain its smooth inner surface until more permanent structural repairs can take place. The chemistry behind this process is intricate yet beautifully orchestrated. Platelets release substances that encourage their companions to gather, but only to the degree that the situation requires. They also help activate clotting factors, proteins floating in plasma that normally remain inactive. Once activated, these factors form a cascade, each one triggering the next with careful precision. The cascade eventually leads to the formation of fibrin, a thread-like protein that weaves through the platelet cluster like fine silk. These fibrin strands hold the patch together gently, reinforcing it while maintaining the natural fluidity of the vessel. The balance in this system is remarkable. The body ensures that the response is neither excessive nor insufficient, allowing healing to unfold with a kind of natural elegance. As the fibrin mesh strengthens, the platelets within the clot continue their quiet work. Some of them contract slightly, pulling the edges of the vessel closer together. This contraction helps reduce the size of the opening and makes the repair more efficient. Over time, other cells in the body, cells that specialize in long-term restoration, arrive to replace the temporary patch with stable tissue. When their work is complete, the fibrin dissolves, the platelets drift away again, and the vessel returns to its smooth, serene state. The entire process resembles an intricate dance, carefully choreographed yet relaxed, carried out with the gentlest of motions. What makes platelets especially fascinating is their ability to respond with such subtlety. In most parts of the body, healing is not an event marked by alarm or urgency. Instead, it begins with the platelets drifting by, sensing a shift, and offering their presence with quiet precision. They do not overwhelm the vessel. They do not disrupt the overall flow. They simply gather where they are needed, remain long enough to support the initial phase of healing, and then allow the body's deeper processes to take over. Their action is purposeful yet peaceful, guided entirely by the body's natural ability to restore itself through calm biochemical conversations. The presence of platelets also contributes to a broader sense of stability in the bloodstream. Because they respond only when a vessel surface becomes irregular, they help prevent unnecessary clotting. The plasma surrounding them contains molecules that keep them in their resting state, ensuring that they do not activate without reason. This restraint is vital. It allows the bloodstream to remain fluid and unrestricted, even as the platelets remain ready to respond when called upon. The balance between activation and rest is what keeps the inner river flowing freely while still safeguarding its vessel walls. Imagining platelets within the bloodstream can bring a sense of quiet reassurance. They may be small, nearly invisible without magnification, but their presence reflects the body's deep capacity for self-care. They drift with the current like small, attentive companions, always present yet never demanding attention. Their chemistry unfolds in gentle steps, each one timed to the body's needs, each one reinforcing the natural harmony that allows life to continue with fluid ease. As we conclude this part of our journey, we hold a deeper appreciation for these tiny guardians of vessel integrity. Their existence reminds us that healing often begins in silence. They reveal that even within a system as dynamic as the bloodstream, there is room for softness, patience. In the next part, we will shift our attention to the invisible currents of ions and electrolytes drifting through the plasma, contributing their own soft influence to the body's endless maintenance of balance. 8 electrolytes, the body's dissolved elements, within the quiet golden flow of plasma, alongside the softly drifting red and white blood cells and the delicate platelets, there exists another community of travelers, one so small and subtle that they remain unseen, even under gentle magnification. These are the electrolytes, the dissolved ions that drift freely through the bloodstream, influencing its chemistry with soft precision. They do not take on shapes like the formed elements, nor do they drift as visible particles. Instead, they exist as tiny charged atoms and molecules, moving effortlessly within the plasma, guiding some of the body's most essential processes. And yet, their presence is so understated that the bloodstream remains completely calm, even as they orchestrate electrical activity, fluid balance, and cellular communication. As we enter this 8th part of our tranquil exploration, we turn our attention to these invisible but deeply influential dissolved elements. Electrolytes are ions atoms that have gained or lost electrons, carrying either a positive or negative charge. This quiet charge creates gentle attractions and repulsions in the plasma, guiding the movement of water, supporting the gentle rhythm of the heart, and ensuring that nerves can send their soft electrical signals throughout the body. The ions float freely, interacting with proteins, sliding between water molecules, and forming the delicate gradients that keep the body's chemistry in harmony. They have no form that one can envision easily, yet their influence touches every part of the bloodstream. One of the most abundant electrolytes is sodium, a positively charged ion that guides much of the body's fluid balance. Sodium drifts through the plasma in a steady, regulated concentration. Its presence draws water gently into the bloodstream, helping maintain volume and ensuring that each vessel remains comfortably filled. Sodium also participates in the calm electrical signals that allow nerves to function. When a nerve needs to send a message, sodium ions momentarily shift position across the nerve membrane in soft waves, initiating a signal that feels almost like a whisper passing from one cell to another. These signals guide thought, movement, and sensation, yet the sodium ions themselves drift silently, never disturbing the tranquility of the bloodstream. Potassium, another electrolyte, also plays an essential role. Unlike sodium, potassium is found in much higher concentrations inside cells. This difference creates a quiet balance between intracellular and extracellular environments. When nerves send their messages or muscles prepare to contract, potassium shifts gently out of the cells as sodium flows inward, allowing for controlled electrical activity. This exchange unfolds with perfect subtlety, enabling everything from the soft beating of the heart to the calm regulation of breathing. The balance between sodium and potassium acts like a silent dialogue, each ion responding to the other's presence, creating a harmony that supports the body's rhythm from moment to moment. Calcium, often remembered for its role in bone strength, also floats within the plasma as a charged ion with a remarkable influence on the body's chemistry. In the bloodstream, calcium helps guide smooth muscle contraction, allowing vessels to relax or tighten with delicate control. It also supports the release of neurotransmitters at nerve endings, helping communication occur with peaceful precision. Even platelets rely on calcium ions when they respond to vessel irregularities, using calcium as one of the cues that help trigger their gentle activation. In this way, calcium serves as both a structural element and a quiet messenger, participating in processes that require calm coordination. Magnesium is another electrolyte drifting with gentle purpose. Though less abundant than sodium or potassium, magnesium influences hundreds of biochemical reactions. It stabilizes ATP, the molecule that cells use for energy, ensuring that energy release happens smoothly rather than abruptly. It helps muscles relax after contraction, contributing to the overall ease and rhythm of the body's movements. Magnesium's presence in the bloodstream adds a soft continuity to the chemistry of life, guarding against excessive tension in muscles and supporting a restful state within the body. Chloride, a negatively charged ion, works in tandem with sodium to maintain fluid balance and osmotic pressure. It drifts within the plasma with quiet simplicity. Though its roles may seem modest compared to the more celebrated electrolytes, chloride's presence ensures that every shift in the body's chemistry remains smooth and controlled. Another remarkable ion floating through the bloodstream is bicarbonate. This ion serves as one of the body's primary pH buffers, helping maintain a narrow and comfortable acidity range. As carbon dioxide dissolves in the plasma, some of it converts into bicarbonate, creating a delicate equilibrium that helps stabilize the blood's pH with effortless precision. When pH shifts slightly toward acidity or alkalinity, bicarbonate adjusts in silent increments, preventing any sudden swings. This buffering ability is one of the reasons the bloodstream maintains such a calm chemical environment, even as countless reactions occur every second. As we imagine these ions drifting through the plasma, it becomes clear how peaceful their existence truly is. They move not with overwhelming charge or force, but with subtle influence. Their concentrations rise and fall gently, guided by the kidneys, the lungs, and the endocrine system. Hormones such as aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone adjust their levels gradually, ensuring that water, sodium, and potassium remain in balance. The kidneys filter the blood with a kind of serene intelligence, excreting excess electrolytes when needed and reabsorbing them when the body requires more. Nothing in this system operates abruptly. Every adjustment unfolds with softness. Even the electrical activity that electrolytes support is not abrupt when seen through the lens of the larger system. Nerve signals move in waves smooth, repeating patterns that resemble calm ripples spreading across a lake. Muscles contract and relax in fluid cycles, guided by the presence and absence of ions at their surface. The heart beats in steady rhythms, each contraction influenced by the precise balance of sodium, potassium, and calcium. These rhythms, supported by electrolytes, become the soft soundtrack of life itself. The distribution of electrolytes throughout the bloodstream also reflects a deep sense of natural order. Plasma contains higher levels of sodium and chloride, while cells contain more potassium and phosphate. This separation creates gentle electrochemical gradients that help power cellular processes. Yet, despite this separation, the ions drift freely through the plasma, always ready to shift in the smallest increments to preserve balance. The bloodstream becomes a medium of continuous, peaceful negotiation between these dissolved elements and the systems that depend on them. As we allow ourselves to rest in this understanding, the electrolytes become more than chemical components. They become quiet facilitators of the body's deepest calm. Without them, the bloodstream would have no electrical rhythm, no stable pH, no regulated fluid balance, The soft beat of the heart, the tranquil breath, the gentle motion of muscles all depend on these ions and their unhurried interactions. Their presence reminds us that stability does not require rigidity. Rather, it arises from countless tiny adjustments, each one subtle, each one made in the spirit of calm preservation. As this part of our journey comes to a close, we carry with us an appreciation for the invisible contributors to the bloodstream's harmony. These electrolytes, small, delicate, and quietly powerful, play an essential role in maintaining the serenity of the body's chemistry. In the next part of our exploration, we will move deeper into the blood's role in maintaining pH, balance, and homeostasis, observing how the body uses gentle buffering systems to preserve its internal peace. 9. The quiet balance of blood's pH. In the stillness of the bloodstream, where plasma flows like a warm golden current and countless dissolved elements drift in peaceful suspension, there exists a delicate equilibrium that must be maintained with remarkable precision. This equilibrium is the pH of the blood, a measure of how acidic or alkaline the internal environment is. Though the word pH might sound complex, its role in the body is gentle, steady. The body must keep this measure within a narrow, comfortable range, neither too acidic nor too alkaline, to allow all cellular processes to unfold smoothly. What makes this balance especially beautiful is that it is maintained not through forceful correction, but through soft, continuous adjustments made by the chemistry of the blood itself. As we enter this 9th part of our quiet journey, we explore the buffering systems that make this inner harmony possible. The natural pH of human blood rests around 7.4, a value slightly on the alkaline side. The body protects this level with great care, allowing only the smallest fluctuations. Even a shift of a few tenths in either direction would cause the enzymes that guide life's reactions to lose their gentle efficiency. But rest assured, such changes rarely occur, because the bloodstream possesses its own quiet intelligence. Its chemistry includes several buffering systems like soft cushions that soften any changes in acidity and help keep the pH within its peaceful range. One of the most important of these systems is the bicarbonate buffer. Bicarbonate exists in the plasma as a dissolved ion, and it forms part of a dynamic equilibrium with carbon dioxide. When cells throughout the body produce carbon dioxide through their natural activities, that carbon dioxide dissolves in the plasma and forms carbonic acid, but in a calm and instantaneous response. This carbonic acid separates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. This reversible reaction unfolds continuously, allowing the bloodstream to gently absorb the extra acidity without disturbing its overall serenity. If the blood becomes slightly more acidic, bicarbonate binds with the free hydrogen ions, neutralizing them in a soft chemical embrace. If the blood becomes slightly more alkaline, the reaction reverses. This effortless shifting back and forth is the essence of buffering, a smooth, continuous adjustment that prevents abrupt changes. It is a quiet dance between carbon dioxide, carbonic acid, and bicarbonate, a dance that allows the blood to remain tranquil, even as the body changes its activity from moment to moment. Hemoglobin, the molecule inside red blood cells that we explored earlier, also serves as a gentle buffer. When hemoglobin releases oxygen to the tissues, it becomes more capable of binding hydrogen ions. This ability helps stabilize the blood's pH, especially in the areas where carbon dioxide levels are higher and where acidity would naturally rise. The hemoglobin molecule, already so essential in carrying oxygen, now reveals another layer of its quiet wisdom. It supports pH balance moment by moment, offering a steadying presence that helps maintain calm within the bloodstream. Proteins within the plasma also contribute to buffering. These large molecules carry charges along their surfaces, allowing them to attract or release hydrogen ions as needed. Albumin, in particular, acts as a gentle stabilizer, ensuring that the pH does not drift too far from its comfortable range. Through these accumulated effects, bicarbonate, hemoglobin, and plasma proteins, the blood maintains its subtle control over acidity with a natural and unhurried grace. The body adds another layer of regulation through the breath. When we exhale, we release carbon dioxide into the air, reducing its levels in the bloodstream. A decrease in carbon dioxide gently lifts the pH toward a slightly more alkaline state. In contrast, when carbon dioxide rises, the pH softly drifts toward acidity. The respiratory system responds to these shifts effortlessly. If carbon dioxide begins to accumulate, the breathing pattern deepens or becomes slightly faster, allowing more carbon dioxide to leave the body. If carbon dioxide levels drop too low, this interplay between breath and blood is one of the body's quietest balancing acts, happening with no conscious effort, always protecting the inner chemistry. The kidneys also play their own tranquil role in maintaining pH. They do this slowly, over hours or days, adjusting the amounts of bicarbonate that are excreted or reabsorbed. When the body needs more buffering capacity, the kidneys return bicarbonate to the bloodstream, strengthening its ability to soften acidity. When there is too much bicarbonate, the kidneys allow some to drift away through the urine. They also help remove hydrogen ions when necessary, ensuring that the blood's chemistry remains stable and unhurried. This renal regulation is gradual, steady, and deeply supportive, complementing the faster adjustments made by the lungs. Together, these systems form a network of gentle guardianship. The lungs provide rapid, breath-by-breath stabilization. The bicarbonate system adjusts itself moment by moment, responding almost instantly to chemical changes. Hemoglobin and plasma proteins offer ongoing, silent buffering deep within the bloodstream, and the kidneys contribute long-term adjustments to maintain comfort and equilibrium. These layers of regulation overlap and reinforce one another, creating a sense of deep stability within the bloodstream, a stability that continues even while we rest, sleep, or dream. It is calming to imagine this harmony. Thousands of chemical interactions unfolding every second, each one designed to maintain peace rather than disrupt it. Hydrogen ions drift into protective embraces. Carbon dioxide dissolves and transforms with gentle ease. Bicarbonate rises and falls in concentration like a tide responding to the moon. The breath creates soft waves of exhalation that guide the chemistry back toward its ideal state. All of this happens without effort, woven seamlessly into the quiet rhythm of life. What is especially beautiful about the blood's pH balance is how little we feel it. Its precision is so great, and its buffering so effective, that even as we move between states of rest, activity, and sleep, the internal environment remains serene. We may sigh softly, breathe deeply, or drift into a slower rhythm of inhalation, and the blood adjusts. We may eat, think, or dream, and the blood compensates. Its buffering systems allow every shift in our daily experience to occur without disturbing our inner sense of calm. When we think about pH balance in this way, it becomes more than a chemical measure. It becomes a symbol of the body's dedication to harmony. Just as the mind seeks peace in quiet moments, the blood seeks stability in the face of change. It buffers, adjusts, and compensates, always leaning gently toward equilibrium. Through its chemistry, it brings comfort to the cells and tissues that depend on it, ensuring that every part of the body can continue its quiet work in a safe and stable environment. As we close this part of our journey, we carry forward an appreciation for the subtle intelligence within the bloodstream, an intelligence that expresses itself not through abrupt corrections, but through constant, gentle guidance. In the next part, we will follow the path of oxygen and carbon dioxide themselves, drifting through the bloodstream with their own soft movements and contributing to the tranquil exchange that sustains life. 10. The gentle journey of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Within the soft and steady motion of the bloodstream, two small and essential travelers move with a quiet rhythm that mirrors the peacefulness of breath itself. These travelers are oxygen and carbon dioxide gases that sustain and balance life through a continuous, unbroken exchange. Their movements are not abrupt or forceful. Instead, they drift along gradients so subtle that the entire process feels like a whisper passing from one space to another. Their chemistry is delicate, precise, and deeply calming to contemplate. As we enter this 10th part of our serene exploration, we allow ourselves to follow their path, breathing in their story and breathing out their gentle simplicity. Oxygen begins its journey in the air around us, drawn into the body on the soft currents of inhalation. When we breathe, the lungs expand like gentle sails, welcoming the air into their branching passages. Eventually, the air reaches the tiny sacs called alveoli, where the walls are so thin that oxygen can slip through effortlessly. Here, in this quiet space, oxygen dissolves into the moisture lining the alveoli and diffuses into the bloodstream. This movement is guided purely by concentration gradients, oxygen drifting naturally from an area where it is abundant to an area where it is needed. There is no strain in this motion, no force driving the molecules. It is simply a natural flow, like mist settling onto calm water. Once oxygen enters the bloodstream, it encounters the red blood cells that drift steadily through the pulmonary capillaries. Each red blood cell carries millions of hemoglobin molecules, waiting in a relaxed state to bind oxygen. When oxygen touches the iron-containing centers within hemoglobin, it binds softly, shifting the shape of the protein just enough to invite additional oxygen molecules to join. This cooperative binding allows oxygen to load onto hemoglobin with ease and efficiency. The red blood cell becomes like a small vessel filled with quiet potential, ready to deliver its life-sustaining cargo to every tissue of the body, carried along by the gentle push of the heartbeat. The oxygen-rich blood flows from the lungs into the systemic circulation. As the vessels branch and narrow, the red blood cells drift closer to the tissues, where oxygen levels are lower. Here, hemoglobin senses the subtle change in its environment. Without urgency, it releases its oxygen, allowing the molecules to diffuse into the waiting cells. This release is just as natural as the binding, was a peaceful surrender in response to the tissue's quiet request. The process unfolds continuously, cell by cell, moment by moment, in perfect harmony with the body's needs. In the tissues, oxygen fuels the gentle rhythm of cellular metabolism. The cells use oxygen to support processes that generate energy, allowing them to maintain their functions with steady grace. As they work, the cells produce carbon dioxide, a natural byproduct of metabolism. This carbon dioxide must be removed to maintain balance. What is beautiful about this exchange is how seamlessly it mirrors the journey of oxygen, one drifting inward, the other drifting outward, both following soft gradients shaped by the body's activity. When carbon dioxide leaves the cells, it enters the bloodstream in 3 tranquil forms. A small portion dissolves directly into the plasma, slipping into the fluid with quiet ease. Another portion binds gently to hemoglobin at a site separate from oxygen, forming a compound known as carbaminohemoglobin. But most carbon dioxide is transformed into bicarbonate through a reaction that unfolds in the red blood cells. Carbon dioxide combines with water to form carbonic acid, which then separates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate. This transformation is catalyzed by an enzyme called carbonic anhydrase, which speeds the reaction without disturbing the peaceful rhythm of the blood. The newly formed bicarbonate drifts out into the plasma, becoming part of the bloodstream's buffering system. Its ability to move between forms allows carbon dioxide to be carried gently without overwhelming the blood with acidity. Meanwhile, the hydrogen ions released during the reaction are buffered by hemoglobin and other proteins, ensuring that the blood's pH remains comfortably stable. This interplay is one of nature's quiet masterpieces, thousands of reactions occurring every second, yet never creating a sense of turmoil. Instead, they maintain the bloodstream's calm environment with unbroken continuity. As the blood returns to the lungs, the process begins to reverse. The carbon dioxide carried as bicarbonate re-enters the red blood cells, where it recombines with hydrogen ions to form carbonic acid once more. This carbonic acid then breaks apart into carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide, now free again, diffuses into the alveoli, where it joins the air that will soon be exhaled. The pressure gradients shift softly once more, encouraging the gas to leave the blood and return to the outer world. During exhalation, the lungs release this carbon dioxide, completing its peaceful cycle. This entire process is so smooth and continuous that we rarely notice it. Breath follows breath, each one supporting a new wave of oxygen entering the bloodstream and a new wave of carbon dioxide leaving. These waves unfold gently, like the rise and fall of water on a quiet shore. Even during sleep, when consciousness softens and the body rests in stillness, the exchange continues with perfect reliability. The breath slows, the heart finds a calm rhythm, and the diffusion of gases adjusts without any need for thought or effort. There is a deep connection between respiration and the movement of these gases. When we breathe slowly and naturally, the gradients that guide oxygen and carbon dioxide remain steady and comfortable. Slow breathing promotes efficient gas exchange, allowing oxygen to bind calmly to hemoglobin and encouraging carbon dioxide to be released in a gentle, unhurried manner. This is why calm breathing often brings a sense of relaxation. The chemistry of the blood itself shifts toward balance, creating sensations of both physical and mental tranquility. Even the heart participates in this quiet rhythm of exchange. With each soft contraction, it sends oxygen-rich blood throughout the body, maintaining a cycle that has persisted since our earliest moments of life. The heart's beat is not loud in the internal environment. It creates a steady pressure that encourages blood to move without turbulence. This smooth motion ensures that oxygen reaches each cell without interruption and that carbon dioxide is carried away just as gently. In this dance of gases, hemoglobin plays a central role. It is sensitive to shifts in temperature, pH, and carbon dioxide levels, adjusting its grip on oxygen accordingly. In areas where tissues are warmer, more acidic, or more active, hemoglobin releases oxygen more readily. In cooler or calmer regions, it holds oxygen a little longer. This elegant sensitivity allows oxygen delivery to match the body's needs with natural precision. As carbon dioxide levels rise in more active tissues, hemoglobin welcomes these molecules and assists in their transport, contributing to the blood's buffering capacity. Its behavior is a testament to the body's ability to maintain harmony through cooperative, adaptive chemistry. The journey of oxygen and carbon dioxide teaches us something profound about the bloodstream. Balance is not achieved through static stillness, but through continuous, gentle movement. Each molecule follows its path with ease, each step guided by gradients and natural laws rather than force. Oxygen drifts inward, carbon dioxide drifts outward, and the blood becomes the serene pathway through which this exchange unfolds. As we bring this part of our journey to a close, we rest in the awareness that every breath we take supports this graceful cycle. With each inhale, oxygen begins its quiet passage toward the tissues. With each exhale, carbon dioxide completes its journey home. The bloodstream carries both travelers with effortless calm, ensuring that life continues with softness and stability. In the next part, we will shift our attention to the nutrients and hormones carried through this internal river, exploring how the blood becomes a pathway for nourishment and communication throughout the body. 11 nutrients and hormones traveling by river within the quiet and steady motion of the bloodstream, where oxygen and carbon dioxide drift in their gentle cycles and the formed elements move with soft intention. There is yet another layer of activity unfolding, one that nourishes, informs, and harmonizes every corner of the body. This layer involves the nutrients and hormones carried through the plasma, traveling like subtle messages and offerings along the warm internal river. Though they are unseen and often easily forgotten in the complexity of the body, their movement is essential and deeply tranquil in its rhythm. As we begin this 11th part of our slow, sleep-friendly exploration, we allow ourselves to follow these nutrients and messengers on their serene journey. The bloodstream is not only a carrier of gases and cells, but also the body's primary delivery system for nourishment. Each time we take in food, the digestive system gently breaks down the components into absorbable molecules, which then enter the bloodstream as nutrients. These nutrients do not rush or flood the system. Instead, they appear steadily in calm waves shaped by the slow passage of digestion. Their movement through the bloodstream is effortless, supported by the fluid embrace of plasma. They drift toward the tissues that need them most, guided by chemical gradients and quiet cellular requests. Among the first nutrients carried through the plasma is glucose, a simple sugar that serves as the body's most immediate energy source. Glucose arrives in the bloodstream after being absorbed from the small intestine, where enzymes have carefully transformed carbohydrates into this easy-to-use molecule. Once in the plasma, glucose dissolves smoothly and begins its unhurried journey to the cells. It is welcomed by tissues throughout the body, especially by the brain, which relies heavily on glucose for its calm, continuous activity. Cells open their doors to glucose through small channels regulated by hormones like insulin, allowing the molecule to enter and fuel their gentle metabolic rhythms. This flow is steady, unforced, and perfectly suited to sustaining the body's balance, whether in wakefulness or rest. Amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, also travel through the bloodstream with soft persistence. After proteins are broken down in the digestive system, amino acids enter the plasma and drift among the other dissolved elements. Their presence supports countless quiet processes, including the repair and renewal of tissues, the creation of enzymes, and the production of hormones. Cells throughout the body draw amino acids inward, assembling them into new structures with patient precision. This rebuilding occurs continually, even while we sleep, and the bloodstream delivers the necessary components without agitation or strain. Fatty acids and glycerol, absorbed from dietary fats, also find their way into the bloodstream. Because fats do not dissolve easily in water, the body wraps these molecules in special carriers known as lipoproteins. These carriers float through the plasma like gentle vessels, delivering their cargo to tissues that need energy for long-lasting, steady processes. Fatty acids provide a slow-burning source of energy, supporting calm activities such as maintaining body temperature and sustaining organ function during periods of rest. Their movement through the bloodstream is unhurried, and their use by tissues is efficient and measured. Vitamins and minerals follow similar pathways. Water-soluble vitamins dissolve easily in plasma, floating freely until they are taken up by cells. Fat-soluble vitamins ride within lipoproteins, settled securely inside their quiet carriers. Minerals such as iron, zinc, and copper bind to proteins in the bloodstream, ensuring they remain protected and available for use where needed. Calcium and magnesium, which we met earlier as electrolytes, also serve as nutrients, drifting in their charged forms and supporting both structural and metabolic roles. Each of these molecules contributes to the steady maintenance of life, carried softly along by the plasma's gentle currents. Alongside these nutrients, the bloodstream also carries hormones, chemical messengers that guide the body's internal communication. Hormones are remarkable in their subtlety. They are released by endocrine glands in small, carefully measured amounts. Yet their influence may shape processes throughout the entire body. When a hormone enters the bloodstream, it does not force its message upon every cell. Instead, it drifts quietly until it encounters the specific cells designed to receive it. These target cells carry receptors that recognize the hormone's presence, allowing communication to occur with precision and calm. Insulin is one of the most well-known of these hormones, produced by the pancreas It helps cells absorb glucose from the bloodstream, lowering blood sugar levels and ensuring that the body has access to steady energy. Insulin's influence is gentle and continuous, rising after meals and easing back during periods of rest or fasting. Its partnership with glucose is an elegant example of biochemical harmony, one that unfolds moment by moment without creating any sense of urgency or imbalance. Glucagon, another hormone from the pancreas, serves as a quiet counterbalance to insulin. When blood glucose becomes too low, glucagon signals the liver to release stored glucose, maintaining stability. These two hormones, insulin and glucagon, form a serene duality, working together to keep the bloodstream's energy supply within a comfortable range. Hormones produced by the adrenal glands also travel through the plasma. Cortisol, for example, helps regulate metabolism, inflammation, and cycles of sleep and wakefulness. Rather than acting as a wave of stress, cortisol follows daily rhythms, rising gently in the morning and settling in the evening, supporting the body's transitions with soft constancy. Aldosterone influences the balance of sodium and potassium, guiding the kidneys to preserve or release these ions. Its effect on the bloodstream is slow and subtle, helping maintain hydration and comfortable blood pressure without abrupt changes. The thyroid gland contributes hormones that influence the pace of metabolism. Thyroxine and triiodothyronine drift through the plasma and help regulate how quickly cells use energy. Their presence is extremely gentle, creating small shifts in metabolic rate that support warmth, energy, and mental clarity. The parathyroid glands, in turn, release hormones that regulate calcium balance, ensuring that levels remain stable for nerve and muscle function. Even the reproductive hormones estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone travel through the bloodstream in calm circulation, guiding rhythms that unfold over days, weeks, or even months. These hormones shape subtle cycles, influencing everything from bone strength to emotional balance, and they do so with the same quiet chemistry that defines the bloodstream's overall harmony. Each hormone, each nutrient, each dissolved molecule contributes to a vast and delicate dialogue occurring throughout the body. The bloodstream acts as the corridor for this communication, carrying each message to its intended destination and allowing every cell to remain in quiet connection with the whole. There is no rush in this process. Nutrients enter the bloodstream slowly after a meal, providing steady nourishment. Hormones are released with precision, creating gentle patterns rather than sudden spikes. The liver and kidneys filter and adjust these components with tranquil consistency, ensuring that the river of plasma remains clear, balanced, and supportive. As we imagine this peaceful journey, the bloodstream becomes not only a transport system but a soft conveyor of life's necessities. It offers each tissue what it needs when it needs it, without excess or scarcity. In this rhythmic flow, the body maintains its intricate chemistry with grace. Even while we sleep, nutrients continue to circulate, hormones continue to send messages, and the bloodstream continues to nourish and guide every corner of the body. As this part of our exploration comes to a close, we hold a renewed appreciation for the nutrients and hormones drifting through the plasma. They are gentle guides and silent supporters, ensuring that the inner landscape remains nourished, informed, and balanced. In the next part, we will turn toward the liver and explore its quiet partnership with the bloodstream, observing how this remarkable organ shapes and refines the chemistry of blood with patient precision. 12. The liver's quiet stewardship of blood chemistry. In the gentle landscape of the body's inner workings, few organs offer as much steady, unbroken support to the bloodstream as the liver. It rests beneath the ribcage like a broad, warm stone, quietly absorbing, transforming, and releasing the components that shape the chemistry of the blood. Its work is constant but never hurried, expansive yet always precise. As we begin this 12th part of our peaceful exploration, we allow ourselves to drift into the calm presence of the liver, observing the soft and continuous ways it cares for the bloodstream and maintains balance within the body. The liver receives a unique dual supply of blood, making it one of the most gently connected organs in the body's inner river system. One stream arrives rich with nutrients from the digestive tract, carrying the subtle waves of glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals that have just entered the bloodstream after a meal. The other stream comes from the heart, bringing oxygen-rich blood to nourish the liver's own tissues. These two flows merge inside the liver, creating a quiet mingling of nourishment and potential, a blending of raw materials awaiting refinement. The pace of this merging is slow and rhythmic, matching the body's natural tempo, allowing the liver to respond to shifts in the blood's composition. Once within the liver, nutrients drift into the spaces between soft, sponge-like structures called sinusoids. These sinusoids are lined with cells known as hepatocytes, the true caretakers of the bloodstream. Each hepatocyte works gently and ceaselessly, absorbing the components that need processing and releasing the materials the body requires next. There is nothing abrupt in this activity. The cells do their work with measured ease, guiding molecules through pathways of transformation that support energy balance, detoxification, storage, and synthesis. Glucose, for example, may arrive in abundance after a meal. The liver quietly takes in this glucose and stores it as glycogen, a compact, easily accessible form of energy. There is no rush in this process. The liver simply adjusts its activity based on the bloodstream's needs, storing glucose when levels are high and releasing it back into the plasma when levels begin to fall. Through this soft give and take, the liver ensures that the blood maintains a comfortable, stable supply of energy for the brain, muscles, and every other tissue. Even during rest or sleep, the liver releases glucose gradually, holding the body in a peaceful state of metabolic balance. The liver also gently transforms amino acids, reshaping them into new proteins that drift back into the bloodstream. Among these proteins is albumin, which helps maintain the osmotic pressure that keeps fluid in the bloodstream rather than allowing it to drift outward into tissues. Albumin's presence ensures that the plasma remains comfortably full. Other proteins made by the liver assist in blood clotting, forming part of the cascade that works in harmony with platelets when vessel repairs are needed. These proteins are released in just the right amounts, never too much, never too little. In this way, the liver guides the bloodstream's clotting potential with gentle restraint. Many of the nutrients carried into the liver must be processed before the body can use them. Fatty acids, for example, are often bundled into new carriers called lipoproteins, which drift into the bloodstream to deliver energy to tissues throughout the body. The liver also converts ammonia, a byproduct of protein metabolism, into urea, a molecule that the kidneys can excrete easily and safely. This transformation takes place with silent precision, protecting the bloodstream from accumulating substances that might disturb its balance. The liver becomes a quiet filter, removing the old, the excess, and the unnecessary, leaving the blood clear and serene. Another of the liver's peaceful roles involves detoxification. Many substances that enter the body, medications, environmental compounds, and metabolic byproducts, require gentle modification before the body can safely release them. The liver performs this role by guiding these molecules through steps that make them harmless or easier to excrete. This process is not aggressive. It is patient and methodical. Molecules move through the liver's enzymatic pathways like visitors passing through a tranquil checkpoint, each one receiving the adjustments needed to re-enter the bloodstream or prepare for departure. The liver also releases bile, a fluid that helps digest fats in the small intestine. Though bile itself leaves the bloodstream and enters the digestive tract, its production is tied intimately to the blood's chemistry. When fatty components are present in the plasma after a meal, the liver responds by increasing bile production, aiding in digestion with calm responsiveness. This coordination reinforces the idea that the liver is always listening to the bloodstream, adjusting its contributions according to what the body quietly requests. One of the liver's most remarkable contributions is the synthesis and release of plasma proteins that help stabilize the blood's pH. While bicarbonate and hemoglobin offer immediate buffering, the liver provides the long-term proteins that carry charges and help maintain electrical balance in the blood. These proteins drift through the plasma like soft anchors, keeping the pH from drifting too far in any direction. Their presence complements the buffering systems we explored earlier, adding another layer of stability to the bloodstream's internal harmony. The liver also stores vitamins and minerals, holding them in reserve until the bloodstream quietly signals it needs more. Vitamins A, D, B12, and K can rest within the liver for extended periods, emerging slowly when required. Iron, bound in a safe form called ferritin, waits within liver cells until the body needs it for new hemoglobin. The gentle release of these stored nutrients prevents abrupt changes in the bloodstream, maintaining a smooth supply that supports long-term stability. As we imagine the liver's relationship with the bloodstream, we see an organ that is deeply attuned to balance. It does not impose changes, rather, it guides them. Its cells listen to chemical signals carried in the plasma, adapting their activity with soft precision. If there is excess ammonia, it transforms it. If there are too many fatty acids, it packages them. If proteins need to be made, it synthesizes them. Every action is part of a steady conversation with the bloodstream, a conversation conducted in molecules rather than words. Even the structure of the liver supports this tranquility. Blood flows through it slowly, spreading out through the sinusoids in a gentle fan-like pattern before gathering again into the hepatic veins. This slow movement ensures that the liver has time to perform its quiet chemistry without strain. The organ's design mirrors its function. Wide channels, soft angles, and an emphasis on gentle circulation rather than forceful flow. As we reflect on the liver's stewardship of blood chemistry, it becomes clear that this organ is a partner in maintaining the body's calm. Its influence is subtle yet profound, shaping the composition of the plasma, adjusting nutrient levels, supporting detoxification, and producing the proteins that keep the bloodstream stable. It acts as a quiet guardian of equilibrium, continually refining the chemistry of the blood so that every other system can rest securely in its balanced environment. In the next part of our journey, we will drift toward the kidneys, the organs that continue this theme of gentle regulation, observing how they filter the bloodstream with slow precision and help maintain the internal serenity that allows the body to thrive. 13. The kidneys and the serenity of filtration. In the gentle landscape of the bloodstream, where nutrients drift, hormones whisper, and the chemistry of life flows in peaceful cycles, two quiet organs sit like attentive guardians of balance. These are the kidneys paired, soft, and deeply patient in their work. Unlike the heart, they do not beat. Unlike the lungs, they do not rise and fall. And unlike the liver, they do not reshape nutrients with broad strokes. Instead, their contribution unfolds through subtlety, a slow filtration, a delicate refinement, a careful returning and releasing of water and dissolved elements. They watch over the composition of the blood with a kind of tranquil wisdom, continuously guiding the body toward homeostasis. As we begin this 13th part of our exploration, we follow the kidneys into their world of quiet adjustments and serene regulation. Each kidney receives a generous flow of blood, more than most organs in the body. This flow moves softly through branching vessels that divide again and again until they reach the nephrons, which are the microscopic units that perform the kidney's gentle work. Each kidney contains roughly 1 million nephrons, and each nephron functions like a miniature filtration system, yet not one that relies on pressure or force. Instead, the entire process is governed by gradients, permeability, and subtle biochemical cues. When blood enters a nephron, it passes first through a tiny tuft of capillaries known as the glomerulus. Here, water and small solutes are encouraged to slip through thin membranes, entering a cup-like structure called Bowman's capsule. What makes this step so peaceful is its selectivity. Only the smallest components, water, electrolytes, glucose, amino acids, urea, and a variety of other dissolved molecules are filtered. Larger proteins and blood cells remain in the circulation, drifting onward without disruption. The kidneys do not seize or force the blood into submission. They merely open a space where certain elements, guided by pressure differences, may pass through gently. The result is a filtrate that resembles plasma but lacks the larger components of the bloodstream. This filtrate then begins a slow and winding journey through the nephron's tubules. As the filtrate enters the proximal tubule, the kidney begins one of its most serene activities, reabsorption. The body draws back the components it wishes to keep: glucose, amino acids, essential ions, and much of the water through a quiet choreography between membrane channels and carrier proteins. This reabsorption happens not in a rushed or haphazard manner, but with gentle consistency, molecule by molecule. The bloodstream and the tubule cells engage in a soft exchange, returning precious nutrients to circulation while allowing waste products to drift onward. The kidneys never take more than what is needed, and they never release more than what the body can comfortably let go. Further along the nephron lies the loop of Henle, where the kidney performs a remarkable act of concentration. The loop descends into the medulla, a region where the surrounding tissue becomes increasingly concentrated with salts. Here, water slips quietly out of the filtrate through permeable walls, drawn by the gradient in the medulla's interstitial fluid. The deeper the loop descends, the stronger the pull becomes. This descent creates a gentle narrowing of the filtrate's volume. Then, in the ascending portion of the loop, salts leave the filtrate without water, helping maintain the medulla's concentration gradient. This process unfolds with such elegance that it might be compared to a natural tidewater leaving, salts shifting, gradients strengthening, all without disturbing the calm of the bloodstream. As the filtrate reaches the distal tubule and collecting duct, the kidney's subtle response to the body's moment-to-moment needs becomes even more apparent. Here, hormones play their part, guiding the permeability of the tubule walls. Antidiuretic hormone encourages water to be reabsorbed, helping the body stay hydrated with quiet precision. Aldosterone prompts the reabsorption of sodium and the release of potassium, maintaining a soft equilibrium in electrolyte levels. These hormonal influences do not operate like switches or commands. Instead, they behave like gentle suggestions, shaping the behavior of the nephron in smooth, gradual ways. The kidney's regulation of pH is another of their tranquil contributions. When the bloodstream becomes slightly acidic, the kidneys reabsorb more bicarbonate and release hydrogen ions into the filtrate. When the blood becomes slightly alkaline, they adjust in the opposite direction. These shifts occur slowly, often over hours or days, complementing the faster adjustments made by the lungs. Through this synergy, the kidneys uphold the bloodstream's calm pH balance, providing long-term stability through subtle, measured actions. Eventually, what remains of the filtrate becomes urine, a fluid composed of water, urea, and other waste products that the body no longer needs. The formation of urine is not a failure or loss, but a gentle release, a way for the bloodstream to maintain clarity and equilibrium. The kidneys gather these wastes with quiet purpose, returning everything else to circulation. The urine then travels down the ureters with calm regularity, eventually being stored in the bladder until it is released into the outside world. This entire process mirrors the body's preference for steady cycles: collection, refinement, release. The kidneys also play a role in regulating blood pressure. But here again, their influence is soft and patient. They release an enzyme called renin in response to subtle changes in pressure or salt levels. Renin begins a chain of events that gently narrows certain blood vessels and signals the body to retain more sodium and water. These adjustments do not aim for rapid correction. Instead, they seek long-term equilibrium. Through this system, known as the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone pathway, Another quiet act of stewardship involves the production of erythropoietin, a hormone that encourages the bone marrow to form new red blood cells. When oxygen levels in the blood drop slightly, the kidneys respond by releasing more of this hormone. In doing so, they help the bloodstream maintain its gentle supply of oxygen carriers, ensuring that the body's tissues remain comfortably nourished. This is yet another example of how the kidneys observe the bloodstream and respond with thoughtful, measured action. The serenity of kidney function lies not only in its chemical precision but in its rhythm. The filtration of blood occurs continuously, without peaks or valleys. Every moment, a portion of the blood is being filtered, reabsorbed, adjusted, and clarified. The nephrons work in parallel, each contributing to the whole, creating a steady flow of refinement that allows the bloodstream to retain its quiet stability. Even during sleep, when the body rests deeply and the metabolism slows, the kidneys continue their work without interruption. Their rhythm does not intrude on rest. Rather, it supports it. Imagining the kidneys' contributions allows one to appreciate the profound calm that underlies their function. They do not draw attention to themselves. They do not demand energy or focus. Instead, they quietly participate in the body's perpetual balancing act, filtering, adjusting, and preserving the internal environment with soft precision. The bloodstream flows through them, and they return it cleaner, clearer, and more balanced than before. Through their careful stewardship, they support every other system in the body. As we conclude this part of our journey, we carry forward an appreciation for the kidneys' gentle intelligence, the way they maintain internal harmony. By working continuously, thoughtfully, and without disturbance. In the next part, we will drift into the world of endocrine communication, exploring the hormones that guide the bloodstream's deeper rhythms and help the body maintain its quiet internal order. 14 Endocrine guidance and the blood-soft communication. Within the calm and continuous motion of the bloodstream, where nutrients drift gently and the kidneys refine each moment's composition, there exists a deeper layer of communication, one that unfolds through signals so delicate that individual molecules carry messages across great distances. These messengers are hormones, and the system that produces them is known as the endocrine system. Unlike nerve impulses, which move quickly and sometimes boldly, hormonal communication is patient, slow, and softly pervasive. It spreads through the blood in currents that mirror the pathways of thoughtfulness, helping the body maintain quiet harmony. As we enter part 14 of our tranquil journey, we begin to follow these faint whisper-like messengers, observing how they create gentle shifts that guide the body's rhythms from within. The endocrine system could be imagined as a network of small lanterns placed throughout the body, each one glowing softly within its own space. These lanterns, the endocrine glands, release their hormones into the bloodstream without fanfare. There is no pulse, no surge, no loud signal. Instead, a hormone enters the plasma like a drop of warmth, diffusing gradually into the surrounding current. From there, it drifts across the body, carried by the soft movement of the blood, until it reaches the specific cells that are able to sense and respond to it. This entire process unfolds with a kind of serene inevitability, slow, sure, and quietly purposeful. One of the most central participants in this hormonal guidance is the pancreas, which releases insulin and glucagon. Insulin helps lower blood glucose by encouraging cells to allow glucose inward, while glucagon gently raises glucose levels when they fall. These hormones act as complementary partners, creating a fluid balance that allows the bloodstream to remain steady regardless of external changes. Their influence on the body is not forceful but rhythmic. They adjust their secretion gradually, responding to the presence or absence of nutrients. When the body requires a gentle release of stored energy during rest, glucagon participates with equal calmness. Together, these hormones cradle the bloodstream in a state of metabolic balance, Moving deeper into the endocrine world, we encounter the adrenal glands, small, triangular organs that rest like silent watchers above the kidneys. They release several hormones that shape the body's internal environment in subtle yet meaningful ways. Aldosterone, for example, encourages the kidneys to retain sodium and water, thereby supporting blood pressure and fluid balance. This retention is not rigid. It adjusts itself gradually, based on tiny changes sensed within the bloodstream. Cortisol, another hormone from the adrenal cortex, participates in a wide range of gentle metabolic processes. It helps the body regulate inflammation, maintain steady blood sugar levels, and respond to the natural cycles of wakefulness and sleep. Cortisol's levels rise and fall across the day, moving like a slow wave shaped by the rhythm of light and darkness. Even its moments of elevation are not abrupt. They are gradual lifts that reflect the body's inner clock rather than external urgency. The adrenal medulla, the inner core of the adrenal gland, releases catecholamines such as epinephrine and norepinephrine, but even these more rapid-acting hormones can be understood in a calm context. Their effects are part of the body's natural ability to adjust to changes in activity. They help shift energy availability, regulate heart rate, and support blood flow in ways that remain harmonious when the body is at rest. Their activity lessens as the body settles, and they float through the bloodstream in diminishing concentrations, eventually allowing the internal river to return to its quiet state. The thyroid gland, resting like a soft butterfly-shaped presence in the neck, releases hormones that guide the tempo of metabolism. Thyroxine and triiodothyronine drift into the bloodstream and influence how quickly cells use energy. Their activity is steady and continuous, rarely producing abrupt changes. Instead, they set the overall pace of life within the body, helping maintain warmth, energy, and a sense of equilibrium. When their influence increases, metabolism rises gently. When it decreases, the body's processes slow with equal gentleness. This quiet regulation is part of the body's deep wisdom, ensuring that each tissue receives the level of energetic support it needs without excess. Another lantern in the endocrine constellation is the parathyroid gland, a set of tiny structures nestled behind the thyroid. These glands release parathyroid hormone, which guides the body's calcium balance with exceptional care. Calcium drifts between the bones, kidneys, and bloodstream, and parathyroid hormone helps maintain its concentration within a narrow, comfortable range. The hormone encourages the release of calcium from bones when levels drop slightly, signals the kidneys to reabsorb more calcium, and adjusts vitamin D activation to support absorption from the digestive tract. These changes unfold gracefully, maintaining the quiet support that calcium provides to muscles, nerves, and countless biochemical reactions. Further along the bloodstream's gentle journey, we encounter the reproductive hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. These hormones are released by the ovaries and testes and drift through the bloodstream with soft influences that unfold over days, weeks, or months. Estrogen guides cycles of tissue growth, supports bone strength, and lends a subtle stability to mood and metabolism. Progesterone encourages calm within the body's reproductive rhythms. Testosterone supports muscle tone, red blood cell production, and a stable sense of vitality. None of these hormones act in isolation. They participate in sweeping patterns that resonate throughout the body. Their rhythms shape everything from the density of bone to the softness of sleep, and their effects are as gentle as tides rising and falling. The pineal gland, small and tucked deep within the brain, contributes melatonin, a hormone intimately tied to the cycle of day and night. As darkness approaches, melatonin levels rise softly, guiding the body toward rest. This rise is not abrupt. It is like the gradual dimming of a lantern, inviting the internal environment to shift from alertness to calm. Melatonin drifts through the bloodstream, touching receptors throughout the body and supporting the transition into sleep. By morning, its levels fall smoothly, allowing wakefulness to return. This natural oscillation is part of the bloodstream's ongoing dance with the passage of time. When we imagine all these hormones drifting through the bloodstream, we begin to appreciate the endocrine system as a quiet symphony. Each hormone serves as a note, some low and steady, others higher and more fleeting. Together they create patterns that allow the body to adapt, renew, and remain balanced. They ensure that the bloodstream provides the right nutrients at the right time, that the kidneys reabsorb or release water as needed, that energy is available when required, and that the body can move gracefully through both activity and rest. The bloodstream, in turn, becomes the pathway that carries these gentle messages. Every drop of blood contains a world of information, signals about temperature, hydration, energy levels, emotional states, and the rhythm of sleep. Cells with the right receptors listen to these signals, responding without noise or turbulence. This interplay maintains the body's quiet internal order, allowing each system to work in harmony with the others. As this part of our journey comes to a close, we rest in the understanding that the endocrine system is not a system of commands, but of invitations, soft suggestions, carried by the bloodstream. These hormones drift like calm lantern light through every part of the internal river, illuminating the path of balance and ensuring that the body remains in gentle alignment. In the next part, we will travel deeper into the rhythms of circulation itself, observing how the heart and vessels support this quiet flow through continuous, calming motion. 15. The rhythms of circulation. The bloodstream, with all its nutrients, cells, hormones, and dissolved elements, moves through the body in a continuous cycle guided by the soft, unwavering rhythm of the heart and the gentle elasticity of the vessels. This movement is not loud or forceful when we imagine it from within. Instead, it feels like a slow, reassuring pulse that echoes through every region of the body. Circulation is both a pathway and a quiet exchange, a cycle that repeats endlessly without demanding our awareness. As we begin this 15th part of our peaceful exploration, we drift into the calm dynamics of circulation, observing how the heart and vessels guide the blood on its serene journey. At the center of this rhythm lies the heart, a muscular organ whose steady contractions set the pace of circulation. Though the heart's motion can be described mechanically, the sensation from within feels softer, like a rhythmic wave that never breaks. Each beat creates a gentle pressure that encourages blood to move forward, while the brief pause between beats allows the vessels to absorb and distribute the movement. The heart's chambers do not squeeze with urgency. They open and close with practiced, patient precision. Blood flows into the atria, descends into the ventricles, and is then guided out into the arteries with a motion that can be imagined as smooth and flowing, never sharp or abrupt. From the heart, the blood travels into the arterial system, a branching network that carries oxygen-rich blood toward the tissues. Arteries are lined with elastic walls, soft layers of smooth muscle and connective tissue that can expand and contract without effort. When the heart beats, the arteries gently widen, receiving the pulse of blood with ease. When the heart relaxes, the arteries softly recoil, helping the blood continue moving forward. This elasticity prevents turbulence, transforming the rhythmic motion of the heartbeat into a continuous flow. In this way, the arteries become not rigid pipes, but living, flexible pathways that adjust to the body's needs. As the arteries branch into smaller vessels called arterioles, the flow becomes slower and more controlled. Arterioles guide blood toward the delicate capillary networks where the true exchange of life sustains each cell. These smaller vessels have the ability to constrict or relax in response to subtle chemical signals, adjusting the amount of blood delivered to different tissues. During rest, the arterioles may narrow slightly, allowing the body to conserve energy. Their responses are fluid rather than abrupt, shaped by gradients of oxygen, carbon dioxide, temperature, and hormones carried in the bloodstream. Eventually, blood reaches the capillaries, tiny vessels so thin that their walls consist of just a single layer of cells. Here, the flow slows to its softest pace, allowing red blood cells to pass through one at a time. This slow passage is not a sign of inefficiency. Rather, it is a perfect adaptation. The gentle speed allows oxygen to leave the hemoglobin and diffuse into the tissues, while carbon dioxide moves from the cells into the blood. Nutrients carried in the plasma drift into the surrounding tissues, and waste products drift back into the circulation. This is the true meeting point between blood and body, a quiet exchange at the microscopic level where the chemistry we have been exploring becomes nourishment and renewal. The capillaries then merge to form the venous system, a network that guides the blood back toward the heart. Veins differ from arteries in subtle ways. Their walls are softer and more flexible, and the pressure within them is lower. Because the movement of blood in the veins is calm and gradual, many veins contain small valves that keep the flow steady and prevent backtracking. The blood moves upward from the legs and arms, carried by gentle pressure changes, muscle movements, and the natural rhythm of breathing. Every inhale creates a slight suction that helps draw venous blood toward the heart. Every exhale helps maintain the flow. This partnership between breath and circulation is one of the body's quietest harmonies. As the venous blood approaches the heart, it carries with it carbon dioxide, nutrients, hormones, and countless dissolved elements awaiting renewal or redistribution. The blood enters the right atrium, flows gently into the right ventricle, and from there is guided to the lungs. In the lungs, as we explored earlier, the blood releases carbon dioxide and absorbs fresh oxygen through a soft exchange, guided only by gradients and natural diffusion. Once oxygenated, the blood returns to the left side of the heart, ready to begin the cycle once more. This loop, heart to arteries, to capillaries, to veins, and back again, repeats itself with unwavering consistency, sustaining the body in both activity and rest. What makes circulation especially calming to contemplate is its adaptability. The system adjusts quietly to the body's needs. When resting, the heart rate slows and vessels relax. Blood flows more slowly, conserving energy while still delivering what each tissue requires. During deep sleep, the circulation becomes even more gentle, supporting the body's subtle repairs and nighttime rhythms. When the body becomes active, the heart rate rises slightly. Vessels adjust their diameters, and blood shifts toward the muscles. Yet even during these changes, the movements remain smooth and coordinated. There is no abruptness, only a seamless transition guided by chemistry and quiet signals. Temperature regulation is another delicate aspect of circulation. The blood carries warmth throughout the body, distributing heat evenly. When the body needs to cool, vessels near the surface of the skin widen slightly, allowing more blood to release warmth into the surrounding air. When the body needs to conserve heat, these vessels narrow, gently redirecting blood inward. This thermal guidance is subtle and constant, maintaining comfort through small adjustments that mirror the smoothness of breath. The lymphatic system accompanies the veins as a quiet partner in circulation. Though technically separate from the bloodstream, it moves side by side, collecting excess fluid from tissues and guiding it back toward the central circulation. Its flow is even slower than venous blood, relying on gentle pressure from surrounding muscles and the slight pulsing of arteries. Through this silent partnership, the lymphatic system prevents swelling, supports immune balance, and maintains the gentle fluid equilibrium that keeps the bloodstream serene. Throughout this entire system, the heart plays the role of a timekeeper rather than a driver of force. Each beat is a soft affirmation that the cycle continues. The sound of the heartbeat, often perceived as strong when listened to externally, is internally experienced as a gentle motion, one that distributes life across the body with steady integrity. The heart beats in patterns shaped by the autonomic nervous system, responding to relaxation, stress, activity, and stillness. Yet even when the rhythm shifts, it remains whole, unified, and reliable. This constancy allows every other part of the bloodstream to move with calm assurance. To imagine circulation is to imagine a world of soft currents, branching pathways, and silent exchanges. The red blood cells drift with their oxygen cargo. The white blood cells patrol with quiet vigilance. Plasma carries countless messages and nutrients. Platelets float patiently until needed. Through it all, the vessels hold the shape of the system, elastic, responsive, and alive. Together, these components form a seamless flow that nourishes every cell and supports the body's tranquility. As we conclude this part of our journey, we recognize the bloodstream not only as a physical system, but as a gentle rhythm that underlies our entire experience of being alive. In the next part, we will explore how the blood helps regulate temperature, water balance, and internal stability, deepening our understanding of how this quiet river nurtures the body with soft, persistent wisdom. 16. Temperature, water balance, and blood's quiet stability. Within the calm and continuous movement of the bloodstream, there exists an even subtler harmony, one that involves the body's temperature, its water content, and the balance that keeps every cell comfortably nourished. These internal conditions shift gently from moment to moment, reflecting our surroundings, our activities, and our rest. Yet within this change, the body maintains an exquisite stability, guided by the patient, unbroken chemistry of the blood. As we enter this 16th part of our soft exploration, we turn toward the silent ways in which blood helps preserve this sense of inner equilibrium, ensuring that the body remains warm, hydrated, and poised in its natural rhythm. Temperature regulation is one of the bloodstream's most delicate tasks, because blood flows everywhere into the muscles, around the organs, beneath the skin. It becomes the perfect medium for spreading warmth or releasing it. When the body is warm, whether from gentle activity or from the environment, the blood responds by drifting closer to the skin's surface. The vessels near the skin widen just slightly, allowing more blood to move through them. This expanded flow encourages heat to drift outward, where it can dissipate quietly into the air. There is no rush in this process, no sudden shift. Instead, it unfolds like the slow release of warmth from a quiet ember. The skin may feel slightly warmer to the touch, but the body's internal environment remains calm and sheltered. When the surrounding temperature cools, the opposite occurs. The vessels near the surface narrow softly, guiding blood inward to preserve warmth around vital organs. This narrowing is gentle, preserving heat without creating tension or sensation. The body never holds everything rigidly. It simply adjusts the pathways through which blood flows, shaping the distribution of warmth with elegant subtlety. Muscles may contribute with small contractions, tiny, almost unnoticeable movements that help generate heat. Through it all, the bloodstream remains the carrier that transports warmth where it is needed most. Water balance is another of the quiet harmonies the bloodstream maintains. The body is composed largely of water, and the bloodstream helps distribute that water evenly across all tissues. Much of this balance is guided by dissolved electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium, which softly dictate how water shifts between the bloodstream and the surrounding cells. When sodium drifts into the plasma in slightly greater concentration, it draws water inward. When sodium levels fall or water becomes abundant, the opposite occurs. Water drifts into the tissues, creating a gentle easing of plasma volume. These movements are continuous, subtle, and guided by chemistry rather than force. The kidneys contribute by filtering the blood slowly and thoughtfully, as we explored earlier. They sense the amount of water in the bloodstream and adjust their reabsorption accordingly. When the plasma becomes slightly concentrated, the kidneys allow less water into the urine, preserving fluid in the bloodstream. When the plasma becomes diluted, they release more water, helping restore equilibrium. This balance is guided in part by antidiuretic hormone, a messenger that encourages the kidneys to reabsorb water when the body needs it. The hormone drifts through the bloodstream with quiet purpose, rising and falling based on signals from tiny sensors that detect the concentration of the plasma. These adjustments create a sense of internal steadiness, ensuring that the bloodstream remains comfortably filled, Hydration also affects blood pressure, another parameter kept in serene balance by the blood's chemistry. When the bloodstream holds an appropriate volume of water, pressure within the vessels remains soft and steady. If volume dips slightly, the body responds through the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. None of these changes occur suddenly. They unfold like gradual ripples spreading across a still pond, restoring the internal environment with care. The blood's ability to maintain stability is deeply tied to how it interacts with the body's tissues. For instance, high heat could easily disrupt normal function, yet the blood's steady circulation distributes warmth so evenly that the body rarely experiences abrupt thermal changes. The water content within the plasma also prevents fluctuations in temperature by absorbing heat gradually. Water requires significant energy to increase its temperature, so the plasma itself becomes a buffer absorbing warmth or releasing it without dramatic shifts. This quiet thermal buffering is one of the reasons humans can remain comfortable across varied environments, with the bloodstream acting as a silent balancer. Another layer of stability comes from the blood's constant movement. Because the heart beats rhythmically, blood never lingers too long in one place. It circulates warmth and hydration evenly, preventing regions of excess or deficiency. The flow may be slower, but it remains steady enough to sustain warmth and water balance throughout the night. This ongoing movement supports the dreamlike state of rest, quietly nourishing every tissue. The plasma itself, being mostly water, acts as a reservoir that keeps the body comfortable. Water gives the plasma its fluidity, allowing red blood cells to glide quietly, hormones to travel without interruption, nutrients to dissolve and drift, and electrolytes to move freely. When the body becomes slightly dehydrated, the plasma's volume decreases, causing the bloodstream to grow more concentrated. The body responds with dry signals, soft sensations of thirst, slight conservations in the kidneys, and hormonal shifts that guide water inward. When water becomes abundant, the plasma gently dilutes, and the kidneys gradually release more fluid. These internal corrections preserve the serenity of the bloodstream in every moment. Another beautiful aspect of water balance involves the tissues themselves. The cells of the body rest in a quiet fluid called interstitial fluid, which drifts between blood vessels and tissues. Water flows naturally between the plasma and the interstitial fluid based on subtle shifts in pressure and concentration. Albumin and other plasma proteins help guide this exchange by drawing water back into the bloodstream when needed. Meanwhile, electrolytes encourage water to settle where it best supports cellular function. This constant, gentle movement ensures that no part of the body feels dehydrated or swollen for long. It is a balancing act so delicate that it becomes almost invisible, yet it sustains the body's entire internal comfort. Through all these processes, the blood acts as a quiet moderator. It carries heat away from where it is produced, drifts water into tissues that need hydration, and absorbs excess fluid when the body moves toward fullness. Because the bloodstream interacts with every organ, it becomes the medium through which the body communicates its needs. More warmth, less warmth, more fluid, more release. In this way, blood becomes the bridge that ties all systems together into a state of unity. As we rest in the understanding of this quiet stability, it embodies balance, thermal balance, fluid balance, chemical balance, all achieved through continuous interaction rather than forceful correction. It supports the body in the warmth of waking hours and the cool serenity of sleep, ensuring that the inner environment remains consistent and gentle. As this part of our journey draws to a close, we carry with us an image of the bloodstream as an ever-present caretaker of temperature and hydration. In the next part, we will begin shifting toward the deeper layers of blood's composition and its interactions, exploring how the body transports waste, supports immunity, and maintains long-term equilibrium through soft, ongoing chemistry. 17. The gentle pathways of immunity and long-term balance. In the soft landscape of the bloodstream, where warmth is shared, where water flows in quiet equilibrium, and where nutrients drift patiently from one place to another, there exists yet another layer of calm protection. one that watches over the body with quiet vigilance. This is the long-term balance of the immune system, a collection of processes that unfold with subtlety, patient timing, and a deep respect for the body's internal harmony. Rather than erupting into conflict, much of immunity functions like a gentle guardian, observing, signaling, and adjusting through molecular whispers carried by the blood. As we enter this 17th part of our sleep-focused exploration, we drift into these pathways of long-term protection, recognizing how the chemistry of blood maintains well-being through softness rather than force. Even before we consider the individual components, it is helpful to imagine immunity not as a defense mechanism in the dramatic sense, but as a network of quiet caretakers. These caretakers are constantly present in the bloodstream, never rushing, never overwhelming the system. They sense changes in chemistry, temperature, or molecular patterns and respond in ways that softly restore balance. Where the nervous system communicates with impulses and immediacy, the immune system speaks through time, through layers, and through gentle biochemical gradients that spread throughout the plasma. At the foundation of this calm protection are the white blood cells we met earlier, leukocytes, that drift through the bloodstream with patient watchfulness. But while some white blood cells handle quick adjustments, many are involved in long-term equilibrium. These cells do not hurry from place to place. Instead, they take their time, traveling through the bloodstream, the lymphatic system, and the tissues in slow cycles. Their role is to observe rather than dominate, to sense rather than force, and to respond in measured ways whenever the body asks for support. Among these quiet participants are lymphocyte cells that form part of the adaptive immune system. Their actions unfold over days and weeks, creating long-lasting patterns of stability. Lymphocytes drift peacefully through the bloodstream until they encounter a signal that requires their attention. When they do respond, it is organized, deliberate, and deeply informed by memory. The body remembers past exposures, not with fear or tension, but with a record that allows future responses to remain smooth and efficient. This memory is stored in the bloodstream through populations of long-lived cells that move like calm librarians, carrying knowledge from one moment to another. The plasma itself contributes to this serenity by carrying a soft and continuous array of signaling molecules, cytokines, chemokines, and growth factors. These molecules do not shout instructions. They float gently among the dissolved proteins and electrolytes, offering guidance in doses so small that they barely disturb the fluid around them. When the body needs more assistance in certain tissues, these molecules drift toward those regions, inviting the correct cells to move or adjust. Their presence ensures that immunity is not a sudden event but a continuous, measured process. The complement proteins, quietly circulating in the plasma, also play a role in this balanced system. Only when certain chemical patterns appear do they awaken, gently marking molecules or surfaces that need attention. Yet even in their activated form, the complement system functions with restraint, supporting the broader immune response without overwhelming the bloodstream. Their activity resembles a soft ripple rather than a tide, adding to the body's careful layers of long-term stability. Another aspect of the immune system's calm presence involves the lymphatic vessels that run parallel to the veins. These vessels collect excess fluid from the tissues and return it to the bloodstream, preventing swelling and maintaining the gentle balance of hydration. Along the way, this lymph passes through lymph nodes, quiet hubs where immune cells gather, share information, and refine their awareness of the body's inner landscape. Within these small structures, cells interact with patients, sorting through dissolved molecules and preparing appropriate responses. What happens in the lymph nodes is not dramatic, it is contemplative, a kind of slow, internal conversation that contributes to the body's harmony. Immunity's long-term presence in the bloodstream is supported also by the bone marrow, which produces new cells according to soft hormonal signals. When certain white blood cells become less abundant, the bone marrow gently increases production. When the need diminishes, it slows again. This ebb and flow ensures that the bloodstream maintains the right number of caretakers. Not too many, not too few. The process is guided by chemical messages that move through the plasma like soft currents, shaping the composition of the blood over time. Another layer of sustained protection comes from the spleen, an organ quietly nestled beneath the ribs. The spleen filters the blood with serenity, removing older cells and allowing newer ones to circulate with greater ease. It stores certain immune cells, releasing them with slow precision when needed. This filtering process helps maintain the bloodstream's clarity and freshness, supporting the body's long-term balance without interrupting its peace. In addition to these physical companions, the blood also carries antioxidants and protective molecules that drift through the plasma, neutralizing small disturbances before they have a chance to grow. These molecules, which include vitamins, enzymes, and glutathione, act like gentle caretakers that preserve the integrity of cells and proteins. Their presence is constant, and their influence is quiet. They do not wait for imbalance. Instead, they maintain equilibrium in each moment, ensuring that the bloodstream remains a place of calm even during subtle chemical shifts. All of these functions, filtering, signaling, memory, renewal, are coordinated by the bloodstream's chemistry. Each molecule, each protein, each drifting ion contributes to immunity's soft vigilance. The process is neither abrupt nor forceful. It moves with the same unhurried rhythm as the blood itself, maintaining protection without disturbing the overall tranquility of the body. As we reflect on these gentle pathways of long-term balance, it becomes clear that immunity is not separate from the bloodstream, but an inseparable part of its flow. It moves with the blood, listens through the blood, and responds through the blood, always seeking harmony rather than conflict. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how the blood transports waste out of the body with the same quiet efficiency, supporting the overall purity of this inner river and allowing life to continue with graceful continuity. 18. The quiet removal of waste and the cleansing flow of blood. In the gentle continuity of the bloodstream, where signals drift like soft murmurs and nutrients move in quiet abundance, there exists another essential motion, one that carries away what the body no longer needs. This cleansing flow is subtle, steady, and deeply important. It ensures that the internal river remains clear, balanced, and supportive of life. Waste removal is not a harsh or forceful process. It is a calm release, guided by chemistry, filtration, and timeless biological rhythm. As we begin this 18th part of our serene journey, we watch the bloodstream's quiet cleansing unfold, like a tide that carries away the remnants of each moment's activity without disturbing the inner world. Every cell in the body creates small traces of waste as it goes about its calm work, using nutrients, producing energy, maintaining structure, and renewing itself. These wastes drift out of the cells and into the surrounding interstitial fluid, where the thin walls of capillaries welcome them with the same gentle openness that allows nutrients to flow inward. The exchange is balanced and unforced. The bloodstream accepts what the cells release, taking these molecules into the soft, golden plasma that carries them away. Carbon dioxide, urea, uric acid, lactic acid, bilirubin, and countless tiny byproducts enter the circulation in dissolved form, becoming quiet passengers on the bloodstream's journey. Among these wastes, carbon dioxide is the most abundant, arising naturally from cellular respiration. We explored its graceful journey before. It drifts into the bloodstream, transforms into bicarbonate, and makes its way to the lungs. There, it is quietly exchanged for fresh oxygen and released from the body through exhalation. The breath becomes a gentle cleansing wave, drawing in what is needed, releasing what is ready to leave. This cycle occurs breath by breath, continuously refreshing the chemistry of the blood with a rhythm as soft as the rise and fall of sleep. Lactic acid, produced during exertion, or gentle bursts of activity, also enters the bloodstream and is carried to the liver, where it is converted back into usable energy molecules. The liver receives it with calm efficiency, never overwhelmed, guiding it along biochemical pathways that restore equilibrium. The bloodstream becomes the corridor that transports lactic acid away from the tissues, preventing discomfort and supporting the peaceful return to rest. Urea, a waste product arising from the breakdown of amino acids, moves through the bloodstream to the kidneys. Its journey is neither rushed nor burdensome. It simply dissolves into the plasma and drifts along until it reaches the filtering nephrons. As blood enters the kidneys, urea passes gently into the filtrate and continues toward the bladder in a peaceful procession. The kidneys adjust the rate at which urea is released, keeping the bloodstream's composition within comfortable ranges. Through this slow, deliberate filtering, the blood remains clear, and the body maintains its internal stability. Another quiet traveler is bilirubin, a pigment formed from the natural turnover of old red blood cells. As red blood cells reach the end of their lifespan, the spleen helps break them down in a serene, stepwise process. Hemoglobin is dismantled into its components, and bilirubin is released into the bloodstream. It binds calmly to albumin, a plasma protein that guides it toward the liver. There, the liver transforms bilirubin into a form that can be released into the intestine. This process, though continuous, is never turbulent. It is part of the bloodstream's gentle cycle of renewal, honoring the completion of one cell's journey and preparing its remnants for their quiet return to the earth. The bloodstream also carries small quantities of uric acid, a natural byproduct of nucleic acid metabolism. Like urea, it dissolves easily in plasma, moving toward the kidneys with quiet patience. Some of it is guided into the urine for release, while the rest is balanced with other tissues. This distribution ensures that levels remain stable and comfortable. The kidneys regulate uric acid with the same calm responsiveness that shapes all of their filtering decisions, adjusting based on the blood's needs. Hormonal byproducts, excess electrolytes, and small unused molecules follow similarly gentle paths, drifting into the bloodstream, passing through the liver or kidneys, and eventually leaving the body. Even heat, one of the simplest forms of waste energy, is carried away by the blood. As warmth builds in active tissues, the bloodstream absorbs and redistributes it, preventing local buildup and maintaining thermal stability. In this way, the blood becomes a soft, cooling stream when needed, carrying away excess heat and releasing it at the skin's surface. The lymphatic system supports this cleansing process in its own slow, delicate way. It gathers interstitial fluid that contains proteins and small waste molecules, guiding them toward the bloodstream for processing. The lymph flows very slowly, propelled not by a pump but by the gentle contraction of nearby muscles and the rhythmic motion of breathing. This quiet return of fluid prevents swelling and ensures that the body's waste management remains balanced and calm. Another serene layer of cleansing comes from the proteins and antioxidants drifting through the plasma. These molecules neutralize reactive byproducts with silent efficiency. They recognize subtle chemical imbalances and respond with soft molecular adjustments that prevent disruption. In this way, the bloodstream not only carries waste away, but also transforms some of it before it ever becomes a burden. This internal refinement contributes to the overall sense of clarity and balance that characterizes the blood's chemistry. The removal of waste is closely tied to the body's state of rest. During sleep, circulation shifts gently, guiding more blood toward the organs responsible for cleansing the liver, kidneys, and the deeper tissues involved in metabolic balance. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, and the bloodstream flows with a smoother rhythm. This nighttime pattern allows waste products to be cleared more efficiently, contributing to the restorative quality of sleep. It is as though the body takes this time to sweep its internal spaces with quiet devotion, refreshing the blood for the coming day. What makes this entire process soothing to imagine is the way in which waste removal mirrors the flow of life itself. Nothing is abrupt. Every step is gradual, natural, and in harmony with the body's needs. The bloodstream carries vitality to the tissues, receives what has been used, and returns it to the earth with the same gentleness. It becomes a river that nourishes on its way in and cleanses on its way out, forming a circle of balance that never truly ends. As we bring this part of our journey to a close, we rest in the knowledge that the bloodstream is not only a source of nourishment and warmth, but also a quiet caretaker of purity. It receives, carries, filters, and releases all through chemistry that unfolds with softness and patience. In the next part, we will reflect on how all these processes come together to create the unified, serene rhythm of the blood, drawing our exploration closer to its peaceful completion. 19. The integrated harmony of blood's chemistry. Within the quiet inner world of the body, every system we have explored, oxygen, transport, nutrient delivery, hormonal communication, waste removal, thermal balance, and gentle immunity comes together in a unified, seamless harmony. This harmony is not created by a single organ or any one chemical interaction, but by the continuous and interconnected flow of blood itself. Blood becomes the meeting place, the mediator, and the soft thread that ties all the body's functions together. It moves steadily, without hurry, carrying countless messages and molecules, responding to subtle changes with practiced ease. As we begin this 19th part of our calm exploration, we linger in the softly lit landscape of integration, observing how the chemistry of blood creates a single, peaceful symphony within the body. To understand this harmony, it helps to imagine the bloodstream as a river that never stops moving, even for a moment. It flows through the heart, spreads through branching vessels, reaches the smallest capillaries, and returns again. Along the way, its chemistry responds to every part of the body with gentle precision. There are no sharp boundaries between one function and another. Instead, everything blends smoothly. A nutrient delivered to a muscle may affect hormonal release. A hormone drifting through the blood may influence hydration. Hydration may shape blood pressure, and blood pressure may adjust oxygen delivery. The bloodstream weaves these elements together, creating a whole that is far greater than the sum of its parts. One way to see this integration is to imagine a single red blood cell beginning its journey in the heart. It drifts into the lungs, where oxygen diffuses effortlessly into it. As it continues through the circulation, it passes by tissues that may be warm, active, or resting. In areas that need oxygen, the red blood cell releases its cargo in soft increments, responding automatically to small changes in pH, temperature, and carbon dioxide levels. After its oxygen is released, it collects a small amount of carbon dioxide and continues along, contributing to the body's quiet cycle. Each red blood cell repeats this journey every minute, participating in a balanced partnership between tissues and plasma. Its behavior is influenced by countless variables, yet every adjustment remains smooth and in rhythm with the body's needs. Hormones drifting through the plasma add another layer to this unity. A molecule of insulin released in response to rising glucose levels gently guides cells to take in glucose, stabilizing the bloodstream's composition. Slight changes in glucose trigger shifts in energy use, which then influence oxygen demand. Oxygen demand influences circulation, and circulation influences temperature distribution, and all of these components adjust together without effort. The endocrine system does not stand apart from the bloodstream. It is part of its flow, releasing messages that move through the plasma, shape cellular behavior, and guide the body's daily patterns. Water balance further ties into this harmony. When we take in water, the plasma becomes slightly more diluted. The kidneys sense this change and quietly adjust how much water they release or retain. These adjustments influence blood pressure, which in turn affects the speed at which blood moves through the vessels. Faster blood flow may encourage quicker oxygen delivery. Slower flow may support deeper rest. Everything remains connected, held together by the bloodstream's ability to shift gently between states of fullness and quiet concentration. Even temperature plays a role in this integration. As the body warms during activity, blood distributes the heat, signaling certain enzymes to work at slightly different speeds. These enzymes guide biochemical reactions that influence energy use, hormone production, and immune responses. The immune system, ever watchful, senses these fluctuations and adjusts accordingly, releasing small molecules that drift through the blood, helping the body maintain clarity and calm stability. Nothing is isolated. Each detail influences another with a softness that preserves tranquility. The spleen, liver, kidneys, lungs, and endocrine glands all collaborate in this seamless interplay. The liver neutralizes and transforms molecules carried to it by the plasma. The kidneys refine the filtrate and return it to the bloodstream. The lungs exchange gases with quiet precision. The endocrine glands release subtle messengers that travel through the very same fluid that carries oxygen. These organs do not act independently. They rely on the bloodstream to communicate, transport, and balance their contributions. Blood becomes the language through which the organs speak to one another, ensuring that each task supports a larger, more cohesive harmony. What makes this integration especially calming is the steady rhythm that underlies it. The heart's beat sets the cadence, sending waves of motion throughout the vessels. But from within, the sensation of this rhythm is gentle, a soft reminder that the internal world is always in motion, always adjusting, always caring for itself. Each beat sends newly oxygenated blood outward, carrying with it warmth, nutrients, hormones, and clarity. Each return brings dissolved wastes, chemical signals, and quiet information about the body's changing needs. During sleep, this integrated harmony becomes even more pronounced. The heart rate slows, allowing blood to move at a more relaxed pace. Hormones shift into nighttime patterns, supporting tissue repair, memory consolidation, and the soft recalibration of the body's internal rhythms. Waste removal becomes more efficient, and the bloodstream flows with a deeper sense of stillness. Even the immune system adjusts its activity, drifting toward long-term maintenance. All of these changes occur through the same river of plasma and formed elements, unified and unbroken. As daylight arrives and waking patterns resume, the bloodstream responds again, guiding glucose into the tissues, redistributing warmth, adjusting hormone levels, and preparing the body for gentle activity. This transition, like all others in the body, happens through the soft chemistry of blood, whether the shift is from sleep to wakefulness, warmth to coolness, hunger to nourishment, or rest to movement. The harmony of blood chemistry is therefore not a single process but a constellation of interconnected movements. It is the oxygen drifting into tissues, the ions maintaining gradients, the hormones guiding cellular rhythms, the waste products leaving, and the nutrients entering. It is the vessels adjusting their diameters, the kidneys filtering, the liver refining, and the heart keeping pace. The integration is complete because the bloodstream connects everything, every cell, every organ, every chemical signal. As we stay with this feeling of inner harmony, the bloodstream becomes more than a biological system. It becomes a quiet reminder that balance is not achieved through stillness alone. The body maintains its peaceful equilibrium through thousands of tiny changes, each softened by the presence of plasma and the flow of the blood. This soft adaptability is what allows life to continue with stability and calm. In the next and final part of our journey, we will gather all these threads together, offering a peaceful reflection on the chemistry of blood and the comfort found in understanding its quiet, ever-present support. 20. A quiet reflection on the river within. As we reach this final part of our journey through the chemistry of blood, we find ourselves stepping back to take in the entire landscape at once, an inner world built from constant movement, soft exchanges, and a quiet devotion to balance. It is a world that rarely draws attention to itself, yet it sustains every breath, every thought, every moment of rest. The bloodstream, with all its flowing components, becomes not just a biological system, but a gentle reassurance that the body is always caring for itself, always adjusting, always supporting the life within. In this concluding reflection, we linger in the calm understanding of everything the blood does, feeling the harmony that arises from its continuous, peaceful motion. Throughout this exploration, blood has revealed itself as a river of remarkable subtlety. Plasma, the soft golden fluid that forms its foundation, carries nutrients, hormones, ions, and messages with a grace that almost defies its complexity. Red blood cells drift through this fluid like quiet travelers, offering oxygen to the tissues with a generosity that never disrupts the serenity of their movement. White blood cells glide more thoughtfully, sensing subtle cues and responding with careful vigilance. Platelets float patiently, always ready to offer their gentle repair when the vessel walls need support. Together, these formed elements become the living companions of the bloodstream, each contributing to its equilibrium. The chemistry of the plasma itself completes the harmony. Electrolytes drift with precise intention, shaping gradients that guide nerve impulses, muscle rhythms, and hydration. Proteins provide stability, buffering pH shifts and supporting the fluid balance that keeps the bloodstream comfortably full. Nutrients dissolve and travel, carried lovingly toward tissues waiting to transform them into energy, strength, or renewal. Hormones move like quiet lanterns, illuminating the body's needs and guiding cells in soft chorus. Everything remains suspended in this warm internal ocean, where each molecule has its place and each interaction unfolds without hurry. This river connects every organ in the body. The heart sets its rhythm, but the bloodstream itself spreads that rhythm outward, transforming each beat into a wave that nourishes and shelters. The lungs contribute fresh oxygen, exchanging it for carbon dioxide with such soft natural gradients that the process feels like the movement of mist across a calm surface. The liver receives nutrients and gently shapes them into forms the body can use, all while filtering pigments and refining chemicals with patient precision. The kidneys listen to the bloodstream, filtering its fluid with steady clarity and returning everything the body wishes to keep. The endocrine glands release their signals, entrusting the bloodstream to carry them toward distant cells that respond with quiet adjustments. And the immune system rests within the blood's flow, drifting through the vessels with measured awareness, maintaining clarity and calm. In this way, the bloodstream becomes a conversation among organs, the language of molecules, flowing freely through every part of the body. It allows the brain to sense hydration, the muscles to feel nourished, the skin to warm or cool, and the heart to adjust to changes without strain. Everything is carried through this one medium, this serene channel of connection. To imagine the bloodstream is to imagine unity, not in terms of uniformity, but in the way each part supports and responds to the others. We have followed this flow from the heart to the capillaries and back again, from oxygen's gentle entrance to carbon dioxide's soft release, from nutrient delivery to waste removal. At every point in the journey, the bloodstream has maintained a sense of ease. It simply shifts slightly, gracefully reshaping itself to match the needs of each moment. During sleep, it slows and deepens. During movement, it rises in quiet strength. When the body warms, it spreads the heat. When the body cools, it gathers warmth inward. This responsiveness is not a reaction, but an ongoing cycle of listening and adjusting, a living balance sustained without sensation or noise. In understanding this physiology, we find something deeply comforting. The bloodstream is always working on our behalf, even when we rest. It does not require our awareness to maintain harmony. It does not seek acknowledgement. Its chemistry forms the backdrop of existence, creating safety and stability without ever demanding our attention. To imagine the blood flowing through the veins is to imagine countless molecules moving with gentle purpose, a bustling world seen through the lens of calmness, where activity does not disrupt stillness. The chemistry of blood is more than the presence of oxygen, ions, proteins, or nutrients. It is the way they move together, the way their interactions overlap and blend in a soft continuum. It is the way hydrogen ions slip into buffers, how calcium drifts towards signaling pathways, how sodium and potassium maintain the serene pulse of the nerves. It is the way glucose enters a cell, how hormones shape a quiet shift in metabolism, how platelets tighten a vessel wall with tender precision. These processes are distinct yet inseparable. The beauty lies in their unity. As we reflect on this inner river, we might imagine it shimmering in its gentle golden color, warmed by the body's core, protected by vessel walls that guide it through branching pathways. We might imagine each red blood cell gliding forward on an invisible current, each plasma molecule drifting like a soft grain of light. And we might sense, perhaps more clearly now, how this river supports not just the body, but the feeling of calmness that allows the mind to settle. In learning how blood works, we come to understand something quietly profound. The body already holds within it a perfect system of care. It flows, adjusts, nourishes, cleanses, and synchronizes all through chemistry that unfolds without effort. The bloodstream teaches us a lesson in softness, in steady rhythm, and in balance maintained moment by moment. It shows us how life continues through gentle continuity rather than force. As this final part draws to a close, we return to the image of the bloodstream as a river always moving, always present, always quiet. Its chemistry is the foundation of every breath, every movement, every moment of rest. And even now, as we sit in silence, this river continues its work, carrying peace throughout the body in every gentle drop.